This is the JVS Show. I'm Iain Lee, standing in for Jonathan Vernon-Smith, and on the big phone-in, I'm asking, can couples from different faiths ever last? The divorce of Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes takes up more column inches in the papers today, and it's being widely reported that the reason behind the decision is that the 33-year-old actress was unhappy about the prospect of their daughter, Suri, being taught in line with his faith, Scientology. Katie Holmes, who was raised a Catholic, filed for divorce from her husband of 5 years last week in New York. She's now said to have enrolled their 6-year-old into a Catholic school. Well, many relationships cross faith barriers, and as religion can be a core part of who a person is, do these couples have to work harder to make those relationships work? Today, I'm asking, can couples from different faiths ever last? Whatever your story, I'd like to hear it. Perhaps you married someone with a different religion to you, and the biggest hurdle was getting the in-laws to come to terms with your decision. Maybe, from your experience, it doesn't work. You tried it, and the pressures were too great. Once the first flush of romance had passed, you realise your different faiths made you incompatible. Or maybe you're living proof that relationships like this can be a success. You've been together for years, even though others said it wouldn't work. So today, I'm asking, can couples from different faiths ever last?
The JVS Show.
Share your view. Make your point. Call 08459 455 555. That's 08459 455 555.
The JVS Show.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
And do give us a call. If you've got a view on this, if you've got a story or personal experience, do give me a call. And you were very kind yesterday, filling in for Jonathan. You were very kind in calling up and speaking to me. So if you'd like to do that today, 08459 455 555. Can couples from different faiths ever last? You can also text 81333. Start your text with 3CR or email jvsshow@bbc.co.uk. We've got Sarah in Luton. Hello, Sarah.
Hiya.
How are you doing this morning? You all right?
I'm all right, thank you.
Now, you have dated a Muslim for 3 years.
Yes.
Can I ask, what's your faith background, if you have one?
I don't really have a faith, to be honest. I wasn't really brought up as any faith.
Okay, so you're kind of atheist, maybe agnostic?
Yeah.
And how has it been going out with a Muslim? Has it been difficult? Have there been the problems?
When we first started dating, there wasn't really any problems.
Right.
It's sort of a whole new experience of finding someone that you really love. And just sort of into the relationship about a year in, things were starting to get more serious. I had obviously invited him round to my family, and we'd, had family dinners together and things. And it got to the point where, when am I going to meet your family? And that's sort of how it's been for the past 3 years. I still haven't met his family, any of his brothers or sisters, and it's just sort of make or break point at the moment after sort of 3.5 years.
You've been together for 3.5 years and you've never met his family?
No.
Has he said why? What does he say when you ask him?
Well, it's sort of been an issue for us for a really long time, and it broke us up at one point. And at the point of me getting back together, I said, look, we're going to have to, do this or not at all. And it's just kind of been excuse after excuse, and I don't know whether it's because he's worried about his family's reaction, but it's also sort of, yeah, it's fine, it's just got to be the right moment. And I'm kind of waiting for the right moment, But
you've been waiting for the right moment for 3.5 years.
Yeah, I know, and that's why. I mean, we're talking about moving in together now. I'm thinking about the future and my children, and it's just to the point where, everything else in the relationship I can deal with, the not eating pork and things like that. He hasn't asked me to convert, but I wouldn't really, because there's nothing for me to convert to, because I don't really believe in any kind of a God. So it would be sort of wrong of me to try and be something I'm not. But everything else I can kind of deal with, but I'm very family orientated, and obviously it will be my children's grandparents there, that his side of the family, so...
How were your family fine when they met him? There was no issues there?
Yeah, I mean, my mum's always been, if he treats you right, if you're happy together, then that's fine. It's just obviously if other issues come up. So he has sort of been invited to our Christmas meals, he's been invited to sort of family gatherings, he's been invited to weddings. And I feel like, well, he should reciprocate in that sense, because he's been to family weddings on his own.
Has he really?
Yeah.
And you're talking about kids and moving in, and you're thinking of this as the relationship, as a long-term prospect.
Yeah,
but with that cloud hanging over it of not having met his parents, and his whole family, that must kind of put a strain on things.
It's definitely put a strain on things, and it's also, I feel like I'm giving up a lot, and he's not giving up much in terms of, I mean, he said he could lose his whole family if it doesn't work out right, and he wants to be sure about me 100% before he introduces, because he wants to introduce someone that he's going to be engaged to. So he wants to get engaged before he introduces me. And I'm at the point, well, actually, I need to know what I'm marrying into before I get engaged. So we're at that kind of a stage where one of us has to give, and I don't know who it's going to be.
He says he wants to be sure. You'd think after 3.5 years you'd have a pretty good idea.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, is that I don't want to... I mean, I don't know his family. I don't know the culture. I can only go by my own personal experience. I don't know what everyone else will think out there when they're listening to this, but I can only go by what he tells me, because I haven't met his family. I haven't met that side of things. So I can only go by what he tells me, and I'm assuming that when things are right with his family, that he will introduce me, but I'm at the point where I can't carry on anymore.
Well, you said earlier that you split up. How long did you split up for the first time?
A good couple of months.
And you're saying now that you're at a breaking point, really, where you just can't you can't take this anymore. Is it an option to split up again? Could you end this relationship if he doesn't concede?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm at that point where I might do if I don't give him a time limit. And we don't, it's full steam ahead now, and I think I'm going to have to say to him, if I don't meet them by this date, then that's it. Wow. And it's putting pressure on him. I really don't want to do that, because, there's other things happening with his family. His mum's not well, and I'm thinking, well, is that another excuse, or is she really not well? And I hate to feel like that. I hate to think like that.
Well, it's never fair to put pressure on in a relationship, but it sounds like you've been kind of patient enough. Yeah,
I mean, you were talking about the religion side of things and bringing up children, and I feel like I'm giving up. I don't want to be racist, but I'm giving up my idea of how I thought I would bring up my children when I was growing up, and I'm happy for them to be Muslim, and I'm happy for them to even have a Muslim name. I feel like I'm giving up so much of my preconceived ideas of when I was growing up of how marriage and life would be, and I just need him to give up something,
Have you met his friends?
A few of them, but they're sort of the white British friends. I haven't met any of his Asian friends.
Really? I'm amazed, and, I'm not judging it in the slightest, but I'm amazed you've managed to stick this so long. It does sound very one-sided.
Yeah, it does feel a bit one-sided, but he does do a lot for me, and we are in love. We are trying to make this work. And it's the point where I'm thinking, well, should I really be trying, or should it just happen? And I'd really like to listen to the show and see if people have made it work.
Well, if anyone has, 08459 455 555. One final question, then I'll let you go, Sarah. If he said to you, look, there are problems at home. If you converted to Islam, if you became a Muslim, I could take you back home, we could get married, everything would be fine. Would you be prepared to do that?
No.
You wouldn't?
No, because I don't believe in a God, so I can't pretend that I then suddenly believe, in his religion, because that would be fake, and there's more to it. There's culture, there's a language. I can't understand his language, so there's a lot of things there that I would be pretending to be when I'm not.
Sarah, I wish you the best of luck. I'm shocked by that, and I hope things work out. Keep listening, because someone might phone in who has been in a similar situation and has worked through it. So you never know. Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you.
There we go. That was honesty, wasn't it? 08459 455 555. Have you been in a situation like that? I find that incredible. 3.5 years. She's not met his family. Only met some of his friends. Would you be able to last that long? The question we're asking today is, can couples from different faiths ever last? And it is more than just the two people involved in the relationship, isn't it? The families get involved, friends get involved. It's a tough one. Very interested to hear your story. 08459 455 555. This is Iain Lee filling in for JVS. Good morning, this is Iain Lee filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith. We're asking, can couples from different faiths ever last? This is after Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes are splitting. One of the reasons being cited in the press, and take it all with a huge bag of salt, is that she is unhappy about the prospect of their daughter being brought up as a Scientologist. And while we don't want to talk about them specifically, I'm keen to hear your stories about how this has worked for you, if it has worked. Can couples from different faiths ever last? Let's go to another Sarah. Sarah in Buckinghamshire. Hello, Sarah.
Hello there.
What's your experience?
Well, I'm a practising Christian,
Yep.
very quiet Christian. I'm not in church every weekend, but I'm very much a practising Christian. My husband has no faith whatsoever. He thinks it's total bumcum. And we've been married for 17 years.
Well, there you go. So that proves that it works. Did you have a discussion before you kind of got married and you said, well, hang on, this is what I believe, you don't believe. So did you kind of talk about it before?
We did. I mean, it wasn't a kind of, we have something we've got to talk about. It just kind of came up in conversations that you have. And he's very respectful of my views. I'm very respectful of his. I think marriage is you have to work at it, whatever your faith and your religion and all the rest of it. And I think, absolutely being honest about it and talking about it. But it doesn't really kind of get in the way. I mean, the funniest thing is my 15-year-old son's an Odinist. And so his faith is totally and utterly different from mine.
Sarah, hang on, I'm going to sound ignorant. What's an Odinist?
He wears a Thor's hammer, and it's a Norse religion. And it goes back to Odin and all the rest of it, but it's not violent and all of that, which you would automatically think with Vikings and all the rest of it. But his faith is very, very different to mine.
He wears a Thor's hammer. I've never heard of this.
Yeah, it's
What god do they pray to? Thor? Odin?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm amazed. How did he get into that?
Well, he's always had a really, really deep interest in Scandinavian things, and it's just something that he's always just had this natural leaning towards.
Wow.
In the point that he's sort of learning Swedish and Danish and all the rest of it. And it's just something that really kind of captivated him, and he believes, it's a faith that he can buy into.
That's the thing, isn't it? Is if you believe it, then at what point did he come home and say, Mum, Dad, I've got something to tell you?
I think he asked me about 3 years ago, so he was about 12 at that point, if he could have a Thor's hammer for his birthday.
Wow.
And I just said, absolutely, not a problem. And the bigger problem was trying to convince the school that for him it was very much a religious emblem, and that he wanted to be able to wear it.
Oh, you can imagine the school going, well, he's not bringing a hammer into school.
It's not. I mean, it's a fairly big pendant.
Right, and it's around his neck that he wears it on a chain. That's incredible. Are there Odinist churches then?
I would imagine probably so in Scandinavia and the Norse countries, certainly not.
I'm amazed. I've never heard of this. OK, but going back to you and your husband, does he go to church with you and things?
No, he doesn't.
Right, because I'm not Christian, but every now and then on a Sunday, if I've got nothing to do, I'll go to church, just because it's quite nice. I quite like the stories and the songs and the tradition of it, and it's quite a pleasant way to spend a couple of hours, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fascinating. And does he... I would be slightly jealous of you if I were your husband, because you've got someone else to talk to, haven't you? You've got like an extra person who you can kind of go off and have a chat with, and it's all private. And does he not get jealous of that relationship that you have with your God?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I talk to him as much as I talk to my God. And I mean, and don't get me wrong, there have been times when I've raised my fists to heaven almost and said, come on, sort it out then. This isn't working now. But no, not at all. I mean, I was speaking to Ben, and we got married in a registry office, not because he didn't want to get married in church, but because I didn't want to get married in church.
Sarah, listen, it's fascinating. Thank you very much. I got married in church. Not religious, and we got married in church, and we had to do the thing where we had to go to church for a few weeks, and we had a meeting with the vicar, who was a lady vicar, very modern. Why is it important for you to get married in church? I said, because it's like a nice building in the tradition. And because we want to do it in the eyes of God. Oh, terrible, I lied to a vicar. That's very, very naughty. 08459 455 555. Can couples from different faiths ever last? We've got Emma on the line. Hello, Emma.
Hello, good morning.
Everyone's so perky this morning. It's such a miserable day out there.
Oh, don't worry.
And everyone's all happy and, I think summer is officially over now, Emma.
Oh, don't give up.
No, that's it, it's gone.
Get better.
It's gone, it happened, it was yesterday.
Okay.
Yes, yesterday was great, and that's it, it's over.
Right.
What's your story, Emma?
Just very briefly, I was with a partner for 7 years.
Yep.
He was Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
I have been brought up in the Church of England, go to church, etc. I was with him for 7 years, and a bit like your earlier caller Sarah said, I sort of got so wrapped up in it, I thought I'd give up my identity.
Right.
And I could see a point where I even said to him, I remember sitting in a cafe and saying to him, oh, it's fine if the children go to the mosque and are brought up as Muslims.
Right.
And now when I think back, I was only young, I was in my 20s, and I think back and I would have given up everything, and I hadn't met his family. And it had been 7 years. 7 years of not meeting someone's family.
For the whole 7 years?
7 years. I'd met his brother, just one brother. Oh. That's it. Not his mum, not his, relatives, just one brother. Not his friends. He said he didn't have many friends.
I find this, this is similar to Sarah's story. I find this fascinating. I don't think it's just a Muslim thing. I think it can go both ways as well.
Sure.
It's just a coincidence that we have two stories that are around that.
Exactly. That's why I called, because I just thought, I hope that young lady isn't feeling, well, I'm sure she is, all at odds. And she doesn't want to give up someone she loves. Who she truly, I bet she loves him to bits. And it's just looking back, I think I could have lost so much.
So what caused the split in the end? Was it that?
Myself. I suddenly came, because my friends were saying to me, what is going on here? 7 years and you haven't got an engagement ring, you've not met his friends, you've not met his family, and all the time I was making, in my head, I was making, clear reasons for it. I was thinking, this time something's happened, another time something else has happened, and it just got to the point I thought, I'm fooling myself. Really, I'm fooling myself after 7 years. Nothing's going to happen. And of course, at the end, he pleaded, oh, come on, we'll make things work. But when you're ready to walk away from something.
I think after 7 years, you'd have a pretty good idea. What would he say when you say, so we're going to meet your parents this weekend? What excuses would he come up with?
All different ones. Oh, you name it, he said it. This is going on, that's going on, you're Christian, I'm Muslim, you're going to find it hard to adjust. I was like, no, I'll be fine. And it was all things like that. It was just, the culture, it's going to be too shocking for you.
And he met your family and friends?
Yeah, he met my mum and dad.
And they were all fine with it?
And they weren't fine with it, but they said, they weren't fine with it, but they were like, well, if that's your decision, then...
And they weren't fine with it because he was Muslim?
They weren't fine with it because they didn't think we culturally could get on together, and also, I'm not being a snob, I'm just going to be honest.
Be honest, come on.
Yeah, status-wise, it might be fine in your 20s, but later on in life, you're at two different educational levels, so things aren't going to pan out maybe the way...
Emma, are you saying that you're posh?
No, I'm not at all.
You've got a posh laugh.
I'm probably the silly one,
Right, okay.
But, yeah.
And your friends were constantly saying, you're a fool, Emma, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, but they're honest with me, and I like honest people, and I didn't listen. So
the thing is, when friends can see things slightly from a distance, can't they? Relationships, and whenever friends say, "What are you doing, going out with him or going out with her?" You always say, "No, you're wrong. You don't know what they're really like." Yeah, and then it sounds like after 7 years, you found out what he was really like.
And actually, to be honest, I still don't think to this day I know what he's really like.
Really?
Yeah. Because I wouldn't. I don't think even after 7 years, I've still got those rose-tinted glasses on. Silly, but yeah.
Emma, listen, thank you for that. I don't know if it offers much hope to Sarah, who called in earlier on, but it's definitely interesting to get another perspective on it. So thank you very much for that. 08459 455 555. See, I'm fascinated by this. 7 years without meeting his family. And a constant barrage of excuses and, maybe we'll do this. Well, 08459 455 555. What's your story? If you've we had Sarah calling in earlier on, who hadn't met had been going out with a boyfriend for 3.5 years, hadn't met his family. can we give any optimistic help and advice? Can we say something that might give her a little bit of hope? Dennis is in Bishop Stortford. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning, Ian.
Well, what's your take on all of this? Can couples from different faiths ever last?
Well, I'm in my early 60s. I've been married twice, once for 7 years, one for 17 years.
Right.
Church of England thing, but the only time I ever went to church was the baptisms, for the children, the weddings, and a few funerals. So I'm not an average church. It wasn't discussed, do we go to church every Sunday? I think the children might have gone to some Sunday school when it was done, but the first year, the first marriage, when I was 7 years, we didn't have any children. The second year, I had a second marriage, we had 2 children. So I think that binded us together much more stronger than faith did.
So you think that you can overlook faith, that love is more important?
Or loving children, yeah. I mean, faith is just faith. I mean, unless you're a born Catholic or church being where you're going to church every Sunday morning, that's a different thing. But I'm just one of those things, I don't go out my way to go to church. I'm too busy, I'm afraid, God looks after his own,
Yeah, but some of these faiths are quite staunch, and some people take their faith quite staunchly and follow everything to the letter, and that could cause problems, couldn't it?
No, not with me it wouldn't, no. It's my way or no way.
Well, hang on, Dennis, you could cause problems then.
No, I mean, I've been out with about 20 women, all in their 50s.
Good.
Not young, not young children, not young ladies, but faith has never been brought up, if they want to get married,
Yeah.
So, I think they're the same attitude as me, you go by the person.
Yep.
And maybe if you've got children, you go by the children, but faith is for just a small minority, I'm afraid.
Dennis, thank you very much for that. If only everyone agreed with that. And you say that the children can bring you together. Well, sometimes the children can kind of push you apart. If you've got differing views on how to raise the children, then that can cause arguments. And I would imagine... So I don't have any faith. I believe in a higher power, but that's kind of it. And my wife, she kind of is vaguely. She has a vague thing, but nothing that would get in the way of anything. But I imagine if one of you has a strong religious belief and the other doesn't, or has a strong differing religious belief, then they're going to have different views on bringing up children. I think that's when the real problems can start. If you are in a relationship and you've got different faiths, how has it affected the way you bring up your children? I'd be interested to know if one of you, say one of you's a Catholic and you're adamant that the children are going to be Catholic, and one of you's a Muslim or an atheist and you're adamant that they're going to be brought up believing what you believe. How does that work? Because I think that once kids get involved in relationships, man, it's a whole different kettle of fish, isn't it? It's suddenly there's other people living with you. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give me a call. My name's Iain Lee. I'm filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith this week. Now it's time for the travel with Adam Glynn. Thank you very much for that, Adam. This is Iain Lee filling for Jonathan Vernon Smith. In the first hour, we're asking, can couples from different faiths ever last? Are you in a relationship with someone of a different faith? Did it put you off at all? Maybe when you kind of found out that they were of a different belief system to you, you were kind of... Well, maybe I don't want to go any further with this. Can love overcome these differences? I don't know if it can. Love is the most powerful and amazing force. But can it overcome this? I'm not sure. I'm not totally sure that it can. Be interesting. I'd love to get your views on this. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call.
On FM, AM and online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, Beds, Hearts and Bucks. It's the JVS show. I'm Iain Lee, standing in for Jonathan Vernon Smith, and after 11, I'll be looking at your consumer problems. I love this bit of the show. And going back to Peter. Now, Peter told us that he applied for 20 tickets for the Paralympics. He ordered them in September last year and paid £760.
I received confirmation on the 8th of November that my application was successful and that I would receive the tickets in a very broad statement in summer 2012. So... as time is knocking on, I'm getting very concerned.
Peter says he's tried phoning the number on the website but can't get through. What's happened? We'll find out later. And after 10, I'll be asking, is there something stopping you from getting a job? Unemployment in the UK has fallen by 35,000 in the 3 months to February. There are now 2.65 million people in receipt of job seekers allowance. But the drop doesn't mean it's easier getting a job. After 10, I'll be speaking to Simon from Milton Keynes. Simon has been unemployed for over a year and at 43 is finding it very, very hard to get a job. And not just because there aren't that many out there. Hear his story after 10. But now, back to the big phone-in. Plenty more coverage in today's papers about the divorce of Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise. The reason cited for their split appears to be her reluctance to allow their daughter to be taught in line with his faith, Scientology. 33-year-old Katie was raised a Catholic. Well, relationships can face many trials and couples have to work at their differences. But what does it mean when one of those differences is religion? Can couples from different faiths ever last? And I'm really keen to hear from you if you've got kids and it's affected the way you've brought up your children. If you've had a discussion with your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend about, well, hang on, we're doing it my faith, not yours. No, it's mine. 08459 455 555. Do you notice that I'm gingerly stepping around the word partner? Hate the word partner. Let's go to Marina in Dunstable. Good morning, Marina.
Good morning.
How are you, my dear?
Fine, thank you.
Now, you are a Catholic.
Yes.
And your husband wasn't.
No.
What was he? Anything?
Church of England.
He was Church of England, okay.
Yeah.
And did that cause any problems?
No, none whatsoever.
Really?
No. When we went to the priest where I used to live in London, he said, I'll change. He said, no, you don't have to. You just carry on the way you are. And nothing altered. And the children were brought up Catholics. It's up to them if they kept it.
Yeah.
And one thing, no. Wonderful. He'd go out of his way, if we was on holiday, find a church for me. Yeah, it was wonderful. He's no longer with me, sadly. But
I'm
still,
sorry to
never
hear
mind,
that.
yeah.
Well, that sounds like he was amazing. But when you say he was Church of England, was it because I'm kind of, on all the official forms, I'm Church of England.
Yeah, but he never used to go much.
There you go, you say.
No, but all my children were christened. It's up to them.
Yeah.
You know, one lives in Holland, and I don't know where the other one is, but I hope he's listening. But no, he said, come on, get ready, quick. You've got to go to church. And when we was on holiday, go and find a church for me.
Rita, can I ask you a question?
Yeah?
You just said you don't know where the other one is.
And my son.
Why is that?
I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't done anything. I cried my eyes out, but I thought, well, why should I cry? He knows where I live. You know?
Marina, I'm sorry to hear that. It is a shame. That's very sad.
Yeah.
Was there a falling out or anything?
No.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but he was a lovely fella, very clever. And my daughter lives in Holland.
Yeah.
She's doing well. So, I mean, I don't interfere with them. That's it. If they want advice, I'll give it.
Well, I think that's good. That's good parenting.
My husband, because he was 6 foot odd.
Hang on. How tall are you?
4 foot. Well, I'm a giant, really, because I had a twin brother.
Hang on. So you're 4 foot something?
4 foot 8 or something. No, very small.
4 foot 8.
No,
and you're
4 foot 5, something like that.
4
very
foot 5, and your husband was 6 foot.
Yes.
Without going into too much detail, how did that work?
Lovely. Yeah, wonderful man. Very handsome.
Very tall. He sounds like a lovely man. And he was prepared to convert to Catholicism for you?
Yeah, and the priest that we had, he was very serious, and I was sitting outside waiting because he was gone in. And he came out and said, I told him not to change his religion. He's okay. You're all right. Don't worry.
Marina, listen, it's been lovely talking to you. Do call me again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There we go. What a delightful lady. And isn't it interesting? You just poke a little bit, and what stories you get. I wanted to ask so much more there and didn't, about her son. So much more. And didn't. I think with Catholicism and Church of England, obviously they're different, but they kind of come from a similar place, don't they? And maybe there isn't too much difference between those two religions. They have a lot of common ground. So perhaps it's a little bit easier being in a relationship when it's a Catholic and a Church of England. And how many people say they're Church of England when really... I put it on forms and things just because it's a box to tick, but I'm not a believer in that respect. 08459 455 555. Let's go to Asan in Milton Keynes. Hello, Asan.
Oh, hello, mate.
What's your story?
Well, it's not me. It's my best mate. He's actually married to a Christian girl. He's a Muslim.
He's a Muslim, right?
He's a Muslim. He's married to a Christian girl, but it's the way he did it.
Go on.
There's two kinds of, when it comes to these sort of, if you're a Muslim, you want to marry a Christian, if you want to marry someone of a different faith, you have to sort of really, really want it, because it is hard. It's not sort of easy.
When you say hard from where? Family?
It's hard for families. It's hard for each other because you've got no support. Sometimes you've got no support. It's like the only support you've got is your friends. But every time you go home, it's that same. Especially if you haven't left home yet. It's like you get it continuously. It's like continuously stress. From the minute you get up to the minute you sleep, family will be like it won't be something they talk about, but it'll be in the back of their mind. Like, oh, he's doing something against the traditions. He's doing something wrong. He's doing this, and you have to sort of deal with it. So it can get like mentally a little bit bog you down. But there's two ways you can do it. My mate, he did it in a completely different way. He didn't spring it on his mum and dad. When he met the girl he's married to now, he fell in love. He met her at uni, and he knew that she was like the one that he loved and he wanted to marry, blah, blah, blah. So he sort of started asking the questions at home. He didn't just tell them straight away, I'm going to marry a Christian girl, blah, blah, blah. He sort of introduced it slowly. He said, what would you do if I liked so-and-so? He started bringing the religion, in the Quran it says you can marry someone who's a Christian or a Jew. You can do this, you can do that. And what would you think to this? What would you think to... Just sort of over a year and a half, he would sort of make them think about things they've never thought about before. So before it was something that was completely taboo, and now they could eventually got to the point where you could have a conversation with them about it.
Yeah.
So eventually, he basically said that I'm just doing a project or something at uni, and there's just some people I've got to work with. There'll be some people coming to the house. So he basically told his parents that the girl he wanted to marry, his girlfriend, was actually his friend, just so they could gauge a little bit of an idea of what she's like without having that whole side image with it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then they liked her, but they didn't think. But at that point, they didn't know she was anything. They just got on fine. It was normal. Everything was great. And then eventually, again, another year later, after more talking, he came out and his mum just asked him, "Do you like someone? Is it something going on?" And he just told the truth. And he said, "Yeah, there is, and I want you to meet her." And they met her the same day, and for a little while, it was still really a little bit uncomfortable. But it wasn't as it would have been if they didn't have any warning. It was straight away, out of the blue, because it's a really like Islam, and if families, a lot of these families have come from Pakistan and India and places like that to Britain, but whereas Pakistan and India have changed now, they've gone more modern, but the guys that have come here, they're still stuck in the old way from back home. So it's really difficult for them to sort of change that thinking. But if you do it slowly and not scare them with it, they are more like, and now they've accepted it. It's all fine. They've had kids. There's never been a problem. They all do everything together. The family's all cool, and she's, whenever she's around there, she's, it's just normal. No one cares. And after a couple of weeks, everyone has something else to talk about. So it's just temporarily that it's difficult. But if you really want to do it, you can do it. He did it. He proved it. And that was his parents, were some of the strictest people. Even I used to be scared when he got out of their house. I'm a Muslim. I used to be like, oh God, is he going to ask me questions about my... I don't know anything.
How strict were they?
We're talking strict. Not strict as in, we're going to beat you up and stuff. But it's like the dad was, he was a teacher. The mum, she was also a teacher, so like educated or very clever. They knew, they knew about how the world works. But they were just strict. They were like, right, this is our identity, and this is how we're going to stay. They weren't like, we don't like Christians, we don't like this, we don't like that. But they were very, traditional with the clothes they wear, the way they had their house. I don't mean in a bad way, but the way they had their house decorated was very traditional, plastic sheets on the sofas and stuff so they can eat on the floor. And it was a bit difficult like that. But then every time you used to go, he'd quiz you, ask you about, what do you know about the religion? Do you know this? Do you know that? And me, obviously, I'd never know anything. So I'd always be like, what do your parents teach you? And I'm like, well, obviously not the right stuff, but still, I'm still a Muslim. And then after a while, how he did it with them, I just never thought anyone could change. And the way they are now, it's proof. If they could do it, then I'm pretty sure if you just took it slowly and slowly introduced your parents to the idea, talked to them and gave them time, and over time, that's how we did it. And now it's completely fine. If they can do it, I don't think there's many people who are going to get more stricter than them a lot.
Well, you said you said an interesting thing, and I'm picking this up about all of them, but you said it about the parents, that they're teachers and they're very intelligent.
Yeah.
And so maybe the fact that they are so intelligent makes it easier for them to accept, because they're not powered by fear. They can look at this in an intellectual way as well as an emotional way.
Well, that's what they said. They said that, they said, fine, if you want to do this, you can do it, but then what about the children? Is it going to cause problems between, like, if your wife wants them to be Christian, if you want them to be Muslim, what if, if you don't drink, what if at Christmas they're going to be around there drinking, how are you going to feel? They didn't, because they could have really blown up at him. I thought they were going to absolutely give him a right slap, but they didn't. They just, because of how he'd introduced them, they'd have time to sort of, I think they probably talked about it themselves. They kind of knew, so they'd come up with, well, if this is the case, it's obviously it's not just jumping from girl to girl. It's obviously the same conversation that's coming up time and time again for years. So it's obviously something serious.
Hassan, very quickly, they've got kids, have they?
Yeah, they've got one kid. Yeah.
And what faith is the child brought up in?
I don't actually know, because the missus, she's Christian, but she's not very sort of religious.
Right.
He's a Muslim, but he's not. I don't want to say he's not religious, but he's not like the most religious of people. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I've never really sort of asked, but I think they'll probably let the boy make his own choice when he's old enough. You know.
Hassan, thank you for that. I really enjoyed that. Do people really keep the plastic on the sofas? I thought that was a myth. I didn't know that happened at all. Thank you for that, Hassan. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. It's fascinating. Maybe it is. Intelligence makes it slightly different, because with intelligence you can look at things logically and intellectually, and fear isn't such an important aspect if you're a parent. Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to get my head around this and work this out. It's a tough one, isn't it? I wouldn't care who my son married. He's 2.5. I don't care. Gay or straight, any religion, I don't care. As long as he is happy and safe, that's all that matters. I'm saying that now he's 2.5. Who knows what I'm going to say when he's 20. 08459 455 555. Let's go to Anne in Luton. Hello, Anne.
Hi there.
What's your story, Anne?
Well, it's my daughter's friend, actually.
Yep.
She went out with a Muslim guy for about 7 years.
Yeah.
It was like her first love.
Yeah.
And she was head over heels with him, but after about 7 years, she wouldn't convert to his religion, and he just dumped her, basically.
Because she wouldn't convert?
Yeah, well, what it was, his family were really strict.
Right.
And with the respect for the family and the religion and everything, he just wouldn't marry her unless she converted.
Do you not
he didn't actually meet his family at all in that 7 years. He stayed over at her house, went to all the parties and everything,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
It's another story of the girl not meeting the guy's family. You would have thought, though, that early on in the relationship, I say early on, within the first couple of years, the issue of her converting would have come up, and they could have addressed that then.
Yeah, well, she was a devout Christian anyway.
Right.
But, her love, she didn't care what religion he was, because she loved him so much. But it didn't seem like that to him. He was more, not scared, but he feared his family and his religion and being, cut off from the family more than his love for her.
And how long ago did they split up?
About 2 years, and she's never been out with anybody since.
Really? And it was her first love?
Yeah.
First loves are always...
Oh, no.
They're tough. They're tough to get over, and a 7-year first love, that's tough.
Yeah,
does she see him around at all? Does she have any contact with him?
No, nothing at all now. He's married to a Muslim girl now with 2 children. Yeah.
She must be heartbroken.
She is, yeah. I mean, they go out and about and that, and, they meet guys, but I think it's knocked her confidence, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't blame him, really, because that's the way he's been brought up.
Yeah.
It's like that guy just said just now, in Pakistan, they're coming to the modern times, but here, some of the Muslim communities stay stuck in the old times,
And thank you for that. Well, some of them do. I think if the older generations perhaps do. Maybe, is that kind of passing now with each passing of each new generation? Does that kind of stuck in the olden times attitude, is that getting fainter? Or is that me just being hopelessly optimistic? 08459 455 555. Good morning, this is Iain Lee filling in for Jonathan Vernon-Smith. This morning, in the first hour of the show, we're asking, can relationships that are held over different religions, can they ever work? Can they last? This is in light of the Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes split that is supposedly, one of the main reasons is supposedly the fact that Katie doesn't want their daughter to be brought up in Scientology. 08459 455 555. You've got another 12 minutes or so to give us a call on this, if you like. We've got Jamal on the line. Good morning, Jamal.
Good morning.
And whereabouts are you from?
I am originally from Algeria, yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to guess that you're Muslim.
Yeah, I'm Muslim, yeah.
And have you married, or are you going out with someone from a different faith?
I am married with, with my wife. We're together for 15 years, and she is, when I met her, she was Catholic, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's not Muslim?
At the moment, I don't know. But what happened, after 2 years of marriage, she did convert herself to Muslim, but I never asked her, because I married her like Christian. I accept her how she is, yeah?
Right, so she was Christian. And was she a devout Christian? Was she going to church?
No, she's not a religion person, yeah?
Right,
she just converted herself, I don't know, for some reason, I don't know why, she believes something, she converted herself, and we moved to Czech Republic for 1 year. She had some pressure for her family, yeah?
Yeah.
Then she been out of it. I mean, she just stopped praying, she stopped doing anything, but for me, she still, I see her like a wife. I married her I accept how she is, anyway, yeah?
So let me just get this right, Jamal. So she was a Christian. After 2 years of being married, she converted to Islam, and she's still a Muslim.
I said at the moment I'm confused. I don't know what she is. Yeah?
Oh, really?
Because she stopped praying, something like that. Then it doesn't bother me too much. I have 3 kids. Before we had kids, I said to her, I would like have the kids to be Muslim. She accepts that. I mean, the kids, they are in a way. I mean, I take them to mosque. She doesn't say anything. They have Arabic names. I teach them Arabic. She doesn't mind at all that, yeah. That's more important for me. About her, I mean, I married her Christian.
Yeah.
I see her always how she is. That what is more important, yeah, for me.
And has there been a problem with her family when she converted or when she married you? Was there any problem at all?
It is, actually, yeah. It's always been, for the last 15 years, always have a problem. They always think...
Because you're Muslim?
Muslim, yeah. They have some idea, like... she's scared from me, or she is I don't know, I'm forcing her, blah, blah, but really life, she is clever girl, she have good job, I mean, she have good education, yeah, she know what she's doing, and actually, she always in my side, she never agree with her family, yeah, she try to teach them something, but they have their idea about me. I try to be nice to them always, yeah. But we always were having different. I can't drink when I go to when they're having like we say parties. I can't drink, and they try to force me to drink, but I don't accept it. I don't want drink. Yeah, but for them that is too strictly for them. Yeah, if I don't drink, yeah.
They try to force you to drink.
Yeah, sometimes they bring it to me in my face, and but I don't want that. Yeah, but all my kids, because they don't eat pork. Oh, why these kids don't eat pork? Why they having Arabic names? I always keep telling them, like me and my wife, we agree certain things, and you can't change them after all these years, because if she change them, we will cause problem.
So she doesn't see the family. Does that? Or she does see them occasionally.
Now it is. She sees them like one time a year, something like that. Yeah.
And does that upset her at all? Does that upset the kids?
The kids, what happened with the kids, I mean, one time my mother-in-law, she shouted to me next to them, yeah, and they don't speak to her for 1 year now, a year and a half, they don't speak to her, yeah, because they're more than the girls, yeah, and I didn't want them to get, I mean, they should not put kids in, like, they should not put problem next to the kids, because they're only 5 and 9, yeah, but... My family, I mean, back to my Algeria family, my family, they love my wife, and they respect her. She's nice to them, they're nice to her, yeah? I mean, I grew up, like, the way how I grew up, like, religion is nothing really. I mean, we married, we love, I've been preached, we love to marry who is believer, or who is believed to the book of the God, yeah? And Christian is one of them. That's how I grew up, yeah? Because yeah.
Jamal, just we're going to move on because we're running out of time. I want to speak to Mary, but thank you so much for that. I mean, trying to get him to drink. I don't drink. Someone did that to me at a party. I'd tell him where to go. Sounds like a very patient man. And when the family, one set of parents, turn against you, that's got to be, that's got to put a lot of pressure on the relationship, hasn't it? Got a few minutes left if you want to give us a call on this. 08459 455 555. Mary is in Hemel. Good morning, Mary.
Morning.
Your husband is Jewish.
Yes.
And may I ask, what are you?
I was brought up Church of England.
And are you a practising Church of England?
No, I went, I mean, I'm 75 now.
Oh.
And I was at an age where kids went to Sunday school, that sort of thing. They don't do it really anymore, do they?
I went to Sunday school.
Yeah.
Until I realised what it was all about, and I went, hang on a second.
Well, that's how I was sort of brought up, really, believing in Jesus. And schools, you had assembly, and it was all the Christian prayers and everything. And then I met my husband, and we were going out together for 5 years before, and he had terrible trouble with his parents. They didn't want him. I can understand.
Yeah.
They were lovely people as I got to know them. They didn't want us to be together because they felt it was wrong because the religion follows down through the mother. And they didn't want their son getting involved with somebody who wasn't. Anyway, we only missed seeing one another one day, and that was when it was his brother's wedding. I wasn't invited to their wedding. We used to have to meet like at the end of a street if I happened to go his way, because neither of us had cars, had to depend on public transport. Then very few people did have cars. They were quite orthodox, and he used to go home from seeing me, and they used to know where he'd been, and they used to be waiting for him and beat him up.
They would beat him up?
Yes, they used to beat him up.
Oh.
And he used to just have to stand there and take
Oh, my.
it. And then one day we got engaged, and this was all without them knowing. We got engaged anyway. And they found out somehow, I don't know how, but because I couldn't, if I rang there, they put the phone down. And then they turned up on the doorstep of my parents' house, and we'd taken my mother out for a curry. I always remember this.
Yeah.
And we came back, and they were waiting outside the door. And there was a blazing row with my parents and his parents. We came inside, and they were absolutely seething over all this. And they asked my father, how did he feel? He said, look, my father was a very gentle man, and he said, well, look, if they love one another, he said, what's the problem?
There you go, you see. Well done, your dad. That's incredible. Mary, I'm going to move on because we're running out of time, but that was... They beat him up. I can't imagine having a relationship in secret and having to... You can't walk down the same street in case someone sees you, and then they might tell the parents, and then... I'm genuinely... This is opening my eyes. I'm so naive. I am so naive. We've got time, I think, for one more call. Let's go to Bina in Luton. Good morning, Bina.
Good morning, Ian.
Bina, what's your story?
Just to say that I'm a Hindu. I've been married to an Englishman for 31 years.
Yeah.
We've been together for 32 years, and we're happy. Yes, of course, like any relationship, there are going to be compromises. But when we first met, he knew that I was a practicing Hindu. I knew he was a Church of England, but he doesn't really go to church that much.
This is what we've heard from all of the C of E people that have called in, yeah.
Yeah, but he did not have any issues about me being a Hindu. And, you know, the way our relationship always has been is that, look, this is how it is. This is what I am. I accept you for what you are. You have to accept me for what I am. You know, at the beginning, we didn't know whether we're going to have children or not. We don't have any children, but it didn't seem to be a matter of any issue, really.
So you don't have any children. And did you discuss how you would have brought them up if you had have had children?
Yeah, we just said, look, you know, we will find out as and when they grow up, you know, we'll see, you know, what they want to follow. As it is, I just said to one of your researchers just now that my sister is also married to an Englishman.
Okay.
They have a lovely 18-year-old son.
Yeah.
And, again, you know, the whole thing was that really we'll leave it up to the son, but at the same time, both the mother and the father, both my sister and brother-in-law and us, we have values and we do believe in right things, and both sides have those values, and as long as you bring up the children with those values about all the good things about what families are, what love is, how you respect your elders, how you respect education, and so on and so forth. Once you've got that in place and discipline, the rest just follows. And I can say that my nephew is a lovely, young, balanced, young man.
And those values that you mentioned, they aren't. I mean, they're part of religion, but they can be separate from religion as well, can't they? Being nice to people.
Exactly. I'm not talking about religion. Yeah. It's just being, as a human being, you have values, and as long as you make sure that those values are actually, given to your children, or, you kind of make sure that they are brought up in the right way.
And your families... We're running out of time, so I'm just rushing on slightly. Your family were all okay about you and your sister marrying an Englishman?
It was a shock to be honest. I'm going back a long, long time, but having once known that, that's fine. My husband's been out to meet my maternal side of the family in India.
Fantastic.
So has my brother-in-law. They all love him. So,
yeah. Oh, well, there you go.
My mother loved him more than she loved me, I think.
Bina, thank you very much for that. This is the trick, lads. If you're going to get married, the mother-in-law, you have to woo her more than you have to woo your potential wife. It's true. Absolutely true. My mother-in-law loves me. I can do no wrong in her eyes whatsoever. This is Iain Lee filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith, and I think I'm just about getting away with it. It's time now for the travel with Justin Peterson. There you go, you say you're getting away with it, and you pull the wrong fader down and show everybody that you're a complete idiot who has absolutely no idea what you're doing. Coming up in the next hour, is there something stopping you from getting a job? I'll be speaking to Simon from Milton Keynes, who's been unemployed for over a year. You can hear his story, and we'd like to hear yours as well after the latest news. Good morning, Beds, Hearts and Bucks. This is Iain Lee, filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith. Now, after 11, I'll be looking at your consumer problems, and I'll be talking to Jim. Jim told us that he'd organised to have his bathroom window replaced. It was going to cost £585, which included a £100 cost for a surveyor to visit.
About 2 weeks later, I received a phone call from the surveyor to arrange a visit. He has suggested Wednesday the 13th of June at 3 o'clock, to which I agreed. It didn't arrive. It didn't arrive at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock.
So Jim went ahead and cancelled the window fitting and expected to get all of his deposit back due to lack of service. But the company won't refund him. Find out later what's going on with that. But in this hour of the programme, is there something stopping you from getting a job? Unemployment in the UK now stands at 2.65 million, following a decrease of 35,000 in the 3 months to February. But despite the drop, no one is stupid enough to think that it's easy to get a job. And if you're having problems, you'll know how hard it is. I'm going to be speaking to Simon from Milton Keynes. Simon's been unemployed for over a year, and at 43 is finding it very, very hard to get a job. And not just because there aren't that many out there. He says there are other things that stop potential employers from taking him on. Hear his story in this hour of the show, and I'll be asking, is there something stopping you from getting a job? If there is, give me a call, 08459 455 555. As always with these kind of things, it's really interesting to hear your stories and your experiences and find out what's going on with you. 08459 455 555. This is Iain Lee, filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith. Now it's Nick Kershaw.
The JVS Show.
Surprising stories that you won't hear anywhere else.
The JVS Show.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
Nick Kershaw, I won't let the sun go down on me. This is Iain Lee, filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith. It's only for a week, don't worry. And then next week, for I think 4 weeks, I'm covering the breakfast show, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm not looking forward to getting up at 4:15 in the morning, but I am looking forward very much to doing the breakfast show. I had my alarm set for 5 to 6 this morning. I thought I'd have a nice little bit of a line. And then my boy woke up at 4:30, so he was very upset. Anyway, in this hour of the programme, have you been affected by delays in the diagnosis of dementia? A group of MPs has found what it calls shocking variations in waiting times for memory services to help diagnose dementia across the country. 800,000 people in the UK suffer from the condition, but 60% are never diagnosed. For those who are, the time taken for them to access specialist services can vary from a few weeks to more than a year. Have you been affected by delays in the diagnosis of dementia? That's coming up later, but first, unemployment in the UK now stands at 2.65 million, following a decrease of 35,000 in the 3 months to February. We all know it's not easy to get a job, and if you're looking right now, you'll know how hard it is. Simon is from Milton Keynes. He's been unemployed for over a year, and at 43 is finding it very, very hard to get a job, and not just because there aren't that many out there. He says there are other things that stop potential employers from taking him on. Hear his story in this hour, and I'll be asking, is there something stopping you from getting a job? If you want to take part, would love to hear your stories and your experiences. 08459 455 555. Good morning, Simon.
Good morning.
How are you doing? You right?
Yeah, fine, thank you.
So tell me about this. You've not had a job for a year. You're 43. When did you start working?
When I was 12 years old.
When you were 12?
Yeah.
What were you doing? Up chimneys or something?
No, I worked on the first energy world in Milton Keynes.
Did you really? At 12?
I did.
Well, there you go, okay.
I had to lie and say I was 13.
Wow,
and I started on my birthday, doing 12-hour shifts.
What?
For £9 a day.
Hang on, I'm confused. Was this in the Victorian era? I lied about my first job. I said I was 16 when I was 15 and got a little job. But so you've been working since you were 12. And what kind of things have you done?
My main work has been manual and construction. But I've sort of basically done, if you name a job, I've done it.
Yeah.
Sort of in that era.
You're a can-do kind of guy.
Yeah.
Well, I need you to come around my house and sort some stuff out, because I can't do kind of guy. I can't do anything at all. So you've done building work, you've done manual labouring.
I've worked in warehouses, packed water. I've done any job you name it, because I have a work ethic.
Yeah,
and I was brought up that you had to work.
And what was the last job you had?
The last job I had was working in a warehouse. Picking for a major company.
Okay, there's no names, no pack drills. And then you lost that job over a year ago. Why was that?
Because it was only temporary.
Right, okay. And you've been looking for a job constantly since then?
Yes.
How have you been looking for jobs? What have you been doing?
I've been on job searches in the job centre, local papers. I've cold called on companies. I'm at this present moment on a work programme through the job centre. Anything I can through friends. Registered with agencies. But the problem, when you register with an agency, you go in, you drop your CV in, they advertise they're looking for people, but they're also looking for work.
Yeah.
They don't have the work.
So they're saying that the job agencies, the recruitment agencies, don't have the jobs?
No, because they're out tendering and hoping that a company's going to say, yeah, we've got a big order coming, we need 50 people tomorrow. They can turn around and say, yeah, we've got 50 people on our books.
So you're without a job, and I'm assuming you're on job seekers allowance?
Yes.
Is this the longest time you've gone without working?
No. I done a stint of nearly 5 years because I was raising my young daughter on my own.
Okay. And so that's some people would argue that isn't a legitimate reason. I think it probably is a legitimate reason not to go back to work. Raising kids is blooming hard work.
Because of she was just starting secondary school and family issues, It wasn't convenient to work. I couldn't work in the construction hours, the industry, for the hours I wanted.
But so you're on job seekers allowance, but you're not classed. You're not classed as unemployed because you're doing one of these schemes. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm doing a work programme, which, as we all know, is sort of government speak for we'll take you off the books.
I'm so naive, Simon. I'm learning so many things doing this job. So you are unemployed, but you are not included in the official unemployment figures.
No.
How does that make you feel?
A bit annoyed, really, because I don't think the government's put much thought into it. It makes the figures look good, but the people that are still unemployed and having to go to a work programme and just sit, do a job search, and if you don't go, they sanction you and can stop your money.
I think that a lot of people would be like me and would be kind of shocked to realise that that's how the unemployment figures are slightly massaged. Well, not massaged, it's a blooming lie, isn't it?
Yeah, basically, but, I mean, there was a system many years ago in Ireland where they increased the benefit, but if you're unemployed, you had to work in the community for 1 day a week.
Now, how you go on these work programmes, what do you do there? How does it work?
You go and you get interviewed by an advisor, and it's one-to-one. They look at what relevant skills you've got. They create a CV for you.
Do you need, sorry to interrupt, do you need a CV to go and lift boxes around in a factory?
Yes, unfortunately now, because in the sort of modern technology age, they all want CVs emailed to them, or I think the day of application forms have gone. But that's the way of the world.
What else do you do in these work programmes, Simon?
I think the best thing that I was offered was they would teach me about companies in Milton Keynes.
Right. This
company's only been in Milton Keynes a year. I've lived here for 33 years.
Yeah.
And I did find that a bit condescending and think, you know...
Did they not give you anything? But possibly they could have told you something that maybe you didn't know.
They have done... I don't think so.
Right, OK.
Just because I think you can find out about companies in Milton Keynes because there's a decent business directory in the library, and I'm sure it's available in the internet. And if you're looking for a job and you're going for an interview, surely you want to gen up on what the company does before you turn up.
Yeah. So you would say, and tell me if I'm putting words into your mouth, you would say that these kind of workshops are perhaps a little bit patronising and they're a little bit pointless?
Yes, to a certain extent, but I will say in their defence, in the month I've been on this present one, they've got me something that I've been asking the job centre for over 18 months, which is a card I need to actually work on a site. It costs £53 to get this card. You take a test, and you pass it, you get the card, you can work on any site. And because I'm on job seekers allowance, £53 out of my fortnightly money is a very large chunk. I couldn't afford it. And they've done this for me within a week. I take the test tomorrow.
Can I ask you, I'm going to ask you a question, Simon, and if it's too personal, you can tell me to get knotted. It's a long time since I've signed on. How much are you living on a week?
I live on £55.50 a week, because I have to pay back where I've had to get loans, which happens to a lot of people that are unemployed. Because of the delay of getting money come through, you have to go and get a crisis loan, which you have to pay back, and they stop out of your benefits. So I live on just over £55 a week.
I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could survive on £55 a week these days. Simon, listen, stay there. We're going to find out more about you. If you're listening to this and this has kind of affected you in any way, 08459 455 555. We will be asking, is there something stopping you from getting a job? And we're going to find out more about Simon's story after this. This is Iain Lee filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith, 08459 455 555. We're asking, is there something stopping you getting a job? We're talking to Simon from Milton Keynes, who's 43. He's been working since he was 12. I still can't quite get my head around that. And he's been unemployed for a year. Now, Simon, there is something that we haven't quite mentioned yet. Yes. Why do you think... What do you think is stopping you from getting a job?
Well, I have a prison record. I've been to prison twice. I've made 2 mistakes in my life, and I've paid for them by going to jail. I served a 6-month sentence and an 18-month sentence. One was 7 years ago, and one was 20 years ago.
So a long time ago. Can I ask what they were?
The first one was for fraud when I was 21.
Yeah.
The second one was for a violent incident.
OK, a violent incident. You don't want to go into any more detail?
No.
OK, that's fair enough. And do you think that your criminal record, and they were a long time ago, you think that that's possibly holding you back?
Yes, because they don't become spent for 10 years. So when you fill out a CV, an application form, and they ask if you have any criminal convictions, you have to declare them. I was actually turned down a college course for the card because I have violence on my record, and I declared it, And I was made to feel very silly because it was a 3-day course and you filled out a form and I obviously declared my criminal record.
Yeah.
And there was a class of us and we'd all done the same and we were just finding out what the course was about. And they called me out of the class and said, you'll have to leave, Simon, because we're going to have a meeting and see whether, because of your violent history, one violent incident, you can't stay on the course. I never heard from them again. And I felt about an inch tall.
Oh, yeah, that would be humiliating, wouldn't it? Of course. Now, Simon, there would be some people listening to this who would suggest that an 18-month prison sentence for a violent act, that would imply it was something pretty serious. And why should you be given opportunities?
Because I think that I believe and I understood that once you've served your sentence, you've sort of done your time. I mean, the thing is, prison, people say, is easy. I think prison is easy to a certain extent, but it depends on your mindset. I didn't just sit in a cell and watch TV all day. I made shoes. I studied Shakespeare. And, I've done everything I could to fill my time and make myself a better person. Whether that makes me the exception, I don't know.
What shoes did you make, Simon? I didn't know they made shoes in prison.
Yeah, prison shoes.
Fantastic. Well done you. But again, I'm going to tread carefully around this. Your violence, was it at the workplace at all?
No.
Okay.
It was a family incident.
Okay.
It involved alcohol, and it wasn't against a partner, but it was a mistake I made.
Yeah.
And I sort of had to live with it, deal with it. I had my liberty taken away, as I should have.
Yeah.
I didn't see my children, and it was very difficult.
So you feel that it was a long time ago, which it was 20 years and 7 years ago. It is a long time ago. You've had nothing since.
Nope.
And you went to prison and you paid the penalty. Mm-hmm. You think that you should now be given the opportunity to well, you have worked since you came out of prison, haven't you?
Yes, but I mean it's because I think also because the workplace is tighter and there are more choices. Yeah. All I want is the opportunity. I mean, I can remember back in the construction industry, you'd go for a job on a site, and they'd say, what can you do? And you'd say, I can lay slabs, I can lay pipes. And they'd say, and I used to say, I'll give you a day. I'd go on site, work for a day. If I wasn't any good, they didn't take me on.
Yeah.
And if I was, they took me on, I got paid for the day. And that's the way I think it should be. Let me go in and prove myself.
But when you're up against a number of different potential employees, you think you're not being considered because of your criminal record?
Yes.
08459 455 555. If you've been in a similar situation, or maybe you think that there is something else, dear listener, stopping you from getting work and holding you back. How has this only kind of risen in the last year, though, Simon? Is it just because there are less jobs and so you're getting kind of phased out because of your past?
I think because there's less opportunities, and despite the government figures, there are more people sort of looking for work.
Yeah.
And it's just become very, very difficult. And you don't get, I think, from the job centre and that, the right information either. I mean, I was on a course and they said about a CV and I mentioned it. And they sort of said, oh, don't worry about it, we'll pad it. So basically they'll lie about it. Because if you don't declare it, you can get the sack. It's gross misconduct.
Yeah, of course. It does sound... It sounds like a mess, and I'm wondering kind of what way there is out of it. If anyone's got any advice for Simon on how you can get around... Not get around it, I don't mean do anything dodgy like that, but if employers that are perhaps sympathetic to this situation, 08459 455 555 is the phone number. Simon, you're right to stick around for a little bit.
Yes, no
We
problem.
will talk to you more after this. Oh, this is good. Norman Greenbaum, Spirit in the Sky. If you want to give us a call... Look forward to hearing from you. 08459 455 555. We'll be hearing more from Simon after this. I love that song. I love the dirty fuzz guitar in it. You don't get fuzz guitar. What's the Beatles song where they play fuzz guitar? I can't remember. It's on Rubber Soul. Oh, someone text in and tell me, will you please? 81333. Start your text 3CR. The Beatles song where they play fuzz guitar. It's on Rubber Soul. You know the one. This is Iain Lee filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith, who's off on his holidays. And it's yesterday I wasn't so jealous because it was a nice day, but today driving in, man alive. I don't know what it's like out there now. I'm guessing grim. Yeah? OK, fine. Brilliant. Thank you very much. We're asking, is there something stopping you from getting a job? We're talking to Simon in Milton Keynes, who is 43, excuse me, my Slough accent came out there, and hasn't had a job for a year. And, Simon, you think one of the reasons you're not getting jobs is because of your criminal record. We've had a text from Chris that says you should go to college to learn a trade and go self-employed. That way your criminal record wouldn't be relevant.
Yes, lovely idea, but going to college, learning a trade, sort of 43, is a bit difficult.
You'd have to sign off, wouldn't you, if you went to college?
Yes, probably.
OK, I don't know if there is some kind of grant scheme or something like that. But yeah, you're never too old to learn something, Simon. 43, no. You're still young.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I'm sure I feel like at 6 in the morning when I get up.
I'm only saying that because I turn 40 very soon, and I'm trying to just get my head in my... Simon, stay on the line. We will talk to you soon. We're also going to talk to Iain Scott, who is a career coach in Mid-Bedfordshire. I'd like to talk to you as well. 08459 455 555. Time now, though, to get the latest travel. Thank you very much for that, Justin. This is Iain Lee, filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith. It's lovely to have you listening to me. If you want to give me a call, it's 08459 455 555. We're asking, is there something stopping you from getting a job? We'll hear more from Simon and Milton Keynes, and also Iain Scott, who is a career coach in Mid-Bedfordshire, after the latest news.
On FM, AM and online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, this is Iain Lee, filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith. Don't forget, after 11, it's the Consumer Hour. And I made my first ever consumer phone calls yesterday. Normally, I didn't realise I'd have to do this. When I took this gig, I didn't realise I would have to phone up the companies and chase things up. I kind of thought, the backroom team would do it. But no, I had to do it. And this is the sort of stuff at home I wouldn't go anywhere near. My wife would do it because I get anxious and all. And I did it, and I made some phone calls, and we've got some updates later on. I'm very excited, and hopefully you'll be listening after that. But at the moment, we're asking, is there something stopping you from getting a job? 08459 455 555. Simon in Milton Keynes is here. Hello, Simon.
Morning.
So just a quick recap. You're 43 years old. You haven't had a job for a year. You've been working constantly since you were 12, and you think that part of the problem is your criminal record.
Yes.
That's a fair summary of the situation. Have you ever been tempted to lie and not mention it and see if you got away with it?
Many a time.
Ever done it?
Yep.
You have done it?
Yep.
And you got work through doing that. Did anyone ever find out or anything?
Nope.
Not condoning this at all, because obviously it's wrong and that's naughty, but I can see how you would be tempted, and from talking to you, it sounds like you have the right work attitude, and you want to work, and you don't want to sign on, and you want to go out and do stuff and take pride in what you do, and I can see how you could be persuaded or tempted that that's possibly the only option to go down. That must make you feel kind of sad, though, Simon, having to lie to get a job.
Yes and no, because once I get my foot in the door, I think I'm able to prove myself.
Yeah.
And make myself sort of a valuable member of the company or whatever. So, if that's what it takes, that's what I'll continue to do.
Have you ever done that and then sort of 3 months into it gone, by the way, guys, there's something you should know, I've got a criminal record, or have you just kept quiet for the whole time?
I've sort of kept quiet for the whole time. On a construction site,
yeah.
There's quite a few people with criminal records.
I can imagine
I haven't gone for jobs where my criminal record would affect anything I do.
I have to say, just to cover my backside, Simon, not condoning it, and I would never recommend anyone do that, but I'm asking the questions and you've been very honest, and I completely appreciate that. We've got Iain Scott on the line from Mid-Bedfordshire. Iain is a career coach. Hello, Iain.
Hello there, Iain.
Did you hear any of Simon's story?
Yes, I've been listening to it.
What do you think?
I really feel for Simon. He's having a really tough time, and he's looking for a breakthrough that he's obviously not getting.
He's got the right attitude, hasn't he?
I think so. I mean, he sounds, as he's already said, good work ethic. He sounds like he believes in himself, and when I'm coaching people, that's often one of the difficulties. They've got no self-belief because they just had so much discouragement, and it leads to despondency, depression. But, I mean, I don't know if he's putting it on, but he sounds as though he's pretty up,
Iain, can I just get back to basics for a second? Can you tell me, what is a career coach exactly? What do you do?
Well, I've been a careers advisor all my life in Bedfordshire, and then took early retirement last year and trained as a life coach. So I combine the two. Really, it's not much different from being a careers advisor, which I've always done, but you're helping the client to really set their own goals, helping them to design a plan to meet those goals. So the onus is very much on the client, what they want to do and how they feel they can achieve those goals. Now, I would, obviously, as a trained careers advisor, I would give them information, advice that I have, if they needed that sort of help. I think the other thing I do is help them look at the rest of their life. I'm seeing someone at the moment who, again, long-term unemployed, and the rest of their life was a mess. So they decided they'd go out jogging, they'd look at their diet, they'd look at other things that help them make them feel better about themselves. And I think that's quite important as well.
But is jogging... can I ask, is your radio on at all?
I'm on a computer.
Oh, that's all right, this is like echo, don't worry. Is jogging and changing your diet going to really help you get a job?
I think it helps your motivation. It helps you feel better about yourself. It gives you that sort of energy to face another day, which, if you've got nothing much else going on, it just gives you that lift. Certainly a sort of physical lift, and it can be an emotional lift as well.
It is, and it is depressing, and it affects your self-worth not having a job. I had a very quiet 6 months, the end of last year, beginning of this year, very quiet, and you start, even though there's no reason to, by the very nature of my business there are quiet periods, but you start to think, well, maybe that was it. Maybe I'm never going to get another job. I'm terrible. No one's going to give me a job again. And so you can help people kind of get out of that funk.
Yes, definitely. And I think it's developing these small action steps, like I know Simon has done this, he's enhanced his CV. He may not, I'm sure people have suggested to him maybe getting out there and just doing something like a bit of voluntary work, just to know that there's people worse off, that he can feel better about himself. Because getting jobs is usually through people you know, and it's about getting out there. I'm glad he's got the card to go on site, because there's so much going on. I mean, I live near where the Centre Parks is going on, where the motorways, under construction, seems like forever. I mean, there's lots of building work, construction work going on. Could he just go, I'm sure he does this anyway, but just go and talk to people, ask if there's any jobs?
Have you been doing that, Simon?
I haven't got the card yet.
Okay.
I take a test tomorrow.
Oh, right.
And hopefully by 11:30 in the morning I'll have it.
Oh, really? You get it straight away? What is the test?
It's a basic health and safety test.
Right. So you need to show that you know what to do if there's an incident or an accident or something on site.
Yeah.
And then when you've got the card, you can... This is a world I know nothing about. You can then go up to building sites, show the card and say, you got any work?
Yep.
And you'll do that. I mean, you'll go around sort of from site to site, will you? Knocking on the door and seeing if they've got anything going.
I would like to think that by Friday I will be working with my experience on a site.
If you are working by Friday, could you give us a call?
Yeah,
so what a success story that would be if I helped you get a job. No,
that would be brilliant.
I can't. I back away from that statement. But if by the end of the week, if speaking to you on Tuesday, and then by the end of the week you manage to get yourself a job, that would be wonderful. Eileen, have you got? I mean, obviously getting the card is the most important thing for him. Any other advice you could give Simon?
I think just using all the help that is available. I mean, because you could say, well, get your CV, get your communication skills sorted so you're good at interviews. But there are, people out there, services to help you with those things. Don't be isolated. Stay connected, really.
And he sounds like an intelligent... Look, we're talking about you as though you're not here. He sounds like an intelligent bloke. He can speak. He can string a sentence together. He's obviously keen. Is the criminal record, his criminal past, is that going to stop him getting work?
I'm going to say if he believes it won't, it won't. He's got to change his mindset. I just believe, because hearing him, I believe if Simon does get in front of people, he is very personable, and he's got a lot of skills, he's got a lot of good work experience behind him, and what he shared about his criminal record, it wasn't work-related. He doesn't sound a dishonest person, does he? So, let him get in front of people and believe that it is not going to affect him.
Eileen, do they still have careers advisors at schools?
Yes.
It's been a long time since I was at school.
Well, yes, actually, I've worked in the university sector for 20 years, but it's just changed. It's a national career service.
Right.
But what's the onus now is on the schools to get people in. Rather, when I started, I'm a lot older than you two, it was a local authority that put careers advisors in school. Now the school has to bring in the career service. It's government say schools have got the funding, but that means it's not the same in every school.
Eileen, it's lovely to talk to you. There's Eileen Scott, who's a career coach in Bedfordshire. I remember we had a careers advisor at school, and they got a new fancy computer system, and you had to kind of go in and you type in all of your interests. On a BBC Micro, you'd go in and you type in sort of your interests, what you were studying, what you wanted to be when you left school, and it came out with the perfect job for you. My perfect job would have been a prison guard. This is Ian Lee filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith. We'll be back with Simon from Milton Keynes and also your stories. Is there something stopping you from getting a job? Give me a call, 08459 455 555. Speak to you after this. Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, Don't Leave Me This Way. It's Ian Lee filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith. It's only a week. He'll be back next Monday, and then I fill in breakfast for a few weeks, which is I'm thoroughly excited about. My first show on Monday next week. We're going to be out and about with the Olympic torch, seeing the Olympic torch being carried, which I'm genuinely getting quite excited about. I said yesterday, a few weeks ago, the Olympics, yeah, whatever. But as it's getting closer, I'm kind of getting sucked into all of this. I'm a sucker for all of the, the bringing everyone together and waving flags in streets and things like that. I love all of that. After 11, we'll be doing your consumer updates. But before that, I'm asking, is there something stopping you from getting a job? Now, we're talking to Simon, who one of the reasons he thinks he's not had a job recently is because of his criminal record. But it may be something else that's stopping you from getting a job. Anne has called in. Hello, Anne.
Hello, hi.
Now, it's not you that's not able to get a job, it's your son.
Yeah.
What's the situation?
Well, he got epilepsy when he was 15.
Yeah.
And when he finished school, he went on to do barbering at college. Then the year after that, his epilepsy got really, really bad. So he had a year of not being able to do anything because his seizures, he was having seizures all the time.
Right.
They can't get his seizures under control. So even now he just has, seizures, but they've settled a little bit, but they're still bad.
And are they're quite violent physically, are they?
Yeah, and it drains him, takes a lot out of him, and after that he gets a little bit of memory loss. But he's very, very mildly autistic as well. But he's really, really into computers, and I steered him to do barbering to steer him away from computers because of his epilepsy. But he's really into doing computers, a little computer geek. But he's had a year of not being able to do anything, and now he really wants to do something. And there's so many I could have got a job 10 times over for myself. As soon as I say it's for my son, and as soon as I say he's got epilepsy, a lot of people really don't want to know.
How old is your son?
He's 18.
18 years old, and he's keen to work. He wants to work.
He wants to get a job. He really does. But the thing is, a lot of his jobs are limited. He did apply for one job, and they tried him, and then they checked with their insurance and said we can't take you because it was a physical job and it was working with machinery, and he was really upset over it.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's limited as it is. And
that makes sense, doesn't it? That he's limited in his options because obviously in some places it would be dangerous.
Yeah.
To have somebody who could possibly have a fit.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a lot of people don't really want to take someone on with epilepsy if it's not under control, because then they're going to have time off, or it's it is really hard, and he doesn't get help with his disability as much as and if he had a social worker, they've got actual businesses that take on people with disabilities. But because he hasn't got a social worker, which they was trying to get him for 2 years, the hospital and the nurses, he doesn't get the extra help.
Why doesn't he have a social worker?
Pardon?
Why doesn't he have a social worker?
They all put in for him to have a social worker. I think it's through CAD, and the social services never got back to us. Never bothered appointing him a social worker.
Could you? I'm trying to look at this from the other side. So bear with me, and please don't take offence at this. I'm an employer, right? And I've got a job. I've got one job going. Your son comes in, who's got epilepsy. Someone else comes in who's maybe not quite as qualified, but doesn't have epilepsy.
Exactly, who are you going to pick?
Well, can you see their point of view? I'm not saying it's right at all, and it is discrimination.
I totally understand employees doing that, but it's just the way they say. People say nowadays, there's so many companies that take on people with disabilities, and what I'm saying is they don't. And, and I can understand that my son's even willing to work for less. He just wants someone to, he just wants a job. He's mainly doing, like, computer stuff and things like that, or websiting, things like that. He can work really well doing that. And because he's got mild autistic traits, which are to do with communication, he won't sit and talk to people. He'll just get on with his work.
That's me, though. I don't like sitting and talking to people. When I come in here, I just burrow myself away in front of a computer. I don't want to talk to people.
Yeah, that's what he's like, and he'll just get on with his work, and he's so good on the computer.
That's a bad thing, is it? Oh, my God. And listen, I wish you and your son the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
He's 18 and he's young, and he's got that against him because a lot of young people are struggling to get jobs
and the thing
anyway.
Because he's got nothing to do, he can easily go down the wrong road now because he's been,
Well... You're a good mum. You'll keep an eye on him. And thank you very much for that. Best of luck. There we go. Simon, we've got a couple of texts in. Hi, Iain. Under the Rehabilitation of Offenders Act, convictions become spent and only have to be declared for certain jobs. Tony from Slough. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But you're saying they become spent after 10 years?
Yes. Yeah, that's my knowledge from... the police and sort of the job centres.
Okay. It might be worth having a look into that and seeing if that might have changed, because these things sometimes change. Maybe have a little Google this afternoon and see if you can find anything about that.
Yeah.
We've got another text here from Ben. What's stopping me getting a job is I get enough money. I get my rent and council tax paid and some to live on, I see where we're going, for my beer and fags. Why on earth would I want to work? I have been unemployed for 4 years. I think that's the Ben is being slightly facetious there. Let's go to Steve in Letchworth. Good morning, Steve.
Hiya, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay, Steve. What's your situation?
Well, just quickly, that last text you read out.
Yeah.
I could quite easily do that myself, but unfortunately I've got a bit of a work ethic that I would actually be £10 worse off a week not working, but I go to work because I've got a work ethic, so we'll get off that subject.
Very quickly, I did have another life. I had an argument with a lady who called into a show I did once, saying that everybody who signed on was a sponger and was lazy. I signed on for ages, years ago, right? Yep. And I wanted to work. At the start, I'll be honest, for the first couple of weeks, like, yeah, this is wicked, I'm getting paid money to do nothing. And then I realised I'm not getting paid much money. I'm really, really bored. I'm really unsatisfied spiritually and in every sense, and I want a job. And I think it is quite unfair. Of course, there are people sponging off the system and playing the game a bit, but I think that most people who are unemployed want to work, don't they? I think they do.
Well, I don't know. Just that last comment from that last text you got, then obviously not. Yeah. I mean, I've got children I bring up, I get working tax, and I go to work because my money's not that great, but I've got a work ethic.
But go on, so what were you called in about?
Right, getting back to that gentleman, I mean, I'm overweight, I'm, basically, I was diagnosed with being dyslexic, and I've basically never been unemployed since I've left work.
Right.
I've left school, sorry. But I can see where he's coming from. I mean, my brother was a bit of a rogue when he was younger. My brother was in and out of youth offenders, and my brother actually done time in prison, and then he decided to turn his life around. And it actually took one person to actually believe that he could actually do something in his life that was an employer.
Yeah.
And my brother passed his HGV test, we're talking probably 20 years ago, and he's got a mortgage, he's still driving, but that particular time, he just needed someone to believe that he's a changed person, and luckily he struck lucky with an employer that believed him. I mean, my brother, we don't go into too much detail, but it was theft and lifting motorbikes and that, but...
He was a naughty boy.
Yeah, very naughty boy, but he turned his life around and somebody believed that he was a changed person and given the chance, and I think everybody, that's done something, we've all done something. I'm quite lucky, I've never done anything stupid apart from speeding, but I think people should be given the chance, to do something. If it's,
Simon, would you agree with that? Did you come across anybody who said, look, I can see you got a criminal record, but you know what? You look like a decent bloke. I'm going to give you a chance. You must have met people like that.
Yeah, I have. Mainly sort of small builders, but sort of time's gone on and they've become of an age and they've retired. So you have to go into the major construction industry. It doesn't happen so much in warehouse, because you do end up, as you asked me earlier, have you ever lied? You do end up having to lie.
Yeah.
And because there are so many people going for that job. But as the gentleman just said, you just need that chance. You need to get your foot in the door and be able to prove what you can do.
It's funny, because as soon as people hear the word prison, they're like, oh, no, and listen, I've got some friends who have been to prison for all kinds of things, and done all kinds of naughty things. But I genuinely believe that people can change, that people can move on. And, you know, I've done things in the past, not been to prison, but I've done things, and I've changed. You know, we can all do that, can't we?
Yeah, but, I mean, prison is like most things. You sort of can get something out of it, or you can just sit there and watch TV all day.
Yeah.
It's down to the individual.
So we got Gary in Bletchley's got a suggestion for you. Hello, Gary.
Hi there.
What's your suggestion?
I was listening a bit on where the lady phoned in her son with epilepsy.
Yeah.
There is a national organisation. It's called the Shaw Trust, SHAW.
Oh, right, yes.
And one of the things they do is help people with varying special needs with getting into work. And sometimes this can be a sort of a work trial. So you might go there and get taken on, and you're there under a training scheme for just a few weeks. And at the end of that period, you know, hopefully you get offered a place. But it gives you a chance to prove your worth, and I think that's the most important bit.
Is it true? I've heard of the Shaw Trust. Do they help people with convictions as well, don't they?
I think they do. I don't know too much about them. I'm blind myself, and right. I sort of went the route of self-employment in the end. Once my eyes got too worse that I couldn't really seriously continue with you know, employment in the work that I was doing. So I just went self-employed, and I've been doing that for 9 years.
What do you do, if you don't mind me asking?
I do audio transfer work, so things like the old analogue media, so vinyl records, the open reel tapes, cassette tapes, anything that's not available digitally, I record and put it onto CD for customers.
Now you're talking. I'm a vinyl geek.
Yeah. A lot of people are, but of course they don't have turntables and stuff these days. So.
I showed, going off on a slight tangent, if you'll bear with me, I showed a group of 5-year-olds an old dance set record player the other day, and they're like, what is that? And I said, you wait. And I put on a record, and they were blown away. They thought it was the most fun. Gary, listen, thank you very much for that. Simon, there's a possibility the Shaw, I don't know if you've been in touch with the Shaw Trust, but they might help people with previous convictions. He was referring to Anne and her son, but they might be a group that can help. Simon, listen, I would really appreciate, best of luck tomorrow getting your card.
Thank you.
And I would really appreciate it if you let us know if you got it, and let us know if you get a job by the end of the week, because I know a lot of people will be interested to hear how you get on.
Yep, I will.
Thank you, Simon. Best of luck. Thank you very much for that. That's Simon, who's hopefully, he thinks he can get a job by the end of the week if he gets this card, which would be great news. Emily Sand, My Kind of Love. Coming up in the next hour, it's the Consumer Hour. I'm really looking forward to this. Now, Frank went on a 9-day cruise in April. He told Jonathan that when he and his wife arrived at the airport, their taxis didn't turn up, and that when they left, the taxis, again, weren't booked. Not only this, but when they got on the boat, a man came into their room in the middle of the night.
I've since got a letter from them apologising and saying we'll give you £62 for all the inconveniences, on-board spend. And I wrote back and said, well, I don't intend to take another cruise.
Well, this offer isn't really of much use to Frank, so can he have the cash as an alternative? We'll find out after this. Time for the travel. Don't forget, if you've got a consumer issue, you can give us a call and we'll do our best to sort it out. 08459 455 555 is the phone number. Speak to you after this. It's the JVS show. This is Iain Lee, filling in for Jonathan, who's away on holiday. And between now and 12, I'll be looking at your consumer problems. And if you've got an issue that you'd like us to have a look at, get in touch with the team. 08459 455 555. Today, there's going to be an update for Jim. Jim told us that he'd organised to have his bathroom window replaced. It was going to cost £585, which included a £100 cost for a surveyor to visit.
About 2 weeks later, I received a phone call from the surveyor to arrange a visit. He has suggested Wednesday the 13th of June at 3 o'clock, to which I agreed. It didn't arrive. It didn't arrive at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock.
So Jim went ahead and cancelled the window fitting and expected to get all of his deposit back due to lack of service. But the company won't refund him. We'll find out what's happening there. Also, I'm going to be talking to Peter. Peter told us that he applied for 20 tickets for the Paralympics. He ordered them in September last year and paid £766.
I received confirmation on the 8th of November that my application was successful and that I would receive the tickets in a very broad statement in summer 2012. So as time is knocking on, I'm getting very concerned.
Peter says he's tried phoning the number on the website, but he can't get through. Is he going to get his tickets, or is he going to be disappointed? Find out by listening to the show. Don't forget, do give us a call if you've got a consumer problem. 08459 455 555.
The JVS Show.
Fighting for your rights and tackling your consumer problems.
The JVS Show.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
This is one of the best songs ever written, isn't it? I think we'd all agree with that, wouldn't we? The Lars, there she goes. That'll do. It's a good song, but it's about something very, very naughty. We've got a traffic update from David. Hello, David.
Good morning.
Whereabouts are you? What's the problem?
I'm on the A421 between Milton Keynes and Bedford, and I pulled onto the dual carriageway, which is adjacent to Junction 13, travelling north.
Yes.
About an hour and 15 minutes ago.
Oh.
And we've been stationary ever since. Actually, haven't moved an inch, and there's no sign of any emergency vehicles going either way. But actually, as we talk, the traffic in front of me appears to be just setting off. So whatever it was, it may be cleared. But I did have a chat with a few of the other guys and ladies that have been sort of stationary with me, and nobody seems to have been able to find out what it is.
Did anyone get out of the car? I like those moments when people are in traffic and people start to get out of the car.
Yeah, there's loads of guys been sort of jumping out and jumping on their mobiles and I guess reporting and trying to find out what's going on. But
it looks like you're about to start moving.
Yes, we're dribbling. So yes, we whatever it was may be clear.
Okay, well, people maybe give that a little bit of a wide berth. David, thank you very much for the update. That's our first problem solved. We did that. We did. This is the Consumer Hour on BBC Three Counties Radio. This is Iain Lee filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith. You call in with your consumer problems, and we do our best to sort them out. I'm always amazed. Jonathan has an excellent hit rate. Doesn't always get them. He has an excellent hit rate. Let's go to Andy. Good morning, Andy.
Hello.
Hello, Andy. What can we do for you?
Basically, my car, my wife was looking for a new car, so we went looking.
Yeah.
Found one, and we plan on picking it up this Thursday. But payment, I don't know how to pay. Do I pay by credit card or do I pay by debit card?
Those are your two options, are they?
By cash.
Okay, well I'm
pay by cash.
You want it? So those are the three options: the credit card, the debit card, or the cash. I know which one I would suggest, but as I'm only here for a week, I don't want to get into trouble. So I'm going to hand over to Ben, who is an expert on nearly nothing, but he might know the answer to this. Ben?
Well, I've been here for a little while, and anyone who's listened to Jonathan will know that Jonathan always says go with the credit card. Because the credit card offers you extra protection, just in case. We mentioned this a few times on the programme. It's that Section 75 of the Consumer Credit Act. What it does is it means that there's this word, equal liability on the creditor. It means basically the company you're buying, the company you're buying something from, if they go bust, if they disappear, if the goods turn out to be faulty, then and you can't get anything from them, then your credit card company will act on your behalf. So essentially, it gives you that little bit of extra protection.
I know. The problem I've got is my wife. I had her on the phone literally an hour ago. She doesn't see the point. I said credit card to her.
Yeah.
And she said she doesn't see the point in paying with credit card because we're just paying for an extra.
Well, can't you
pay an extra amount?
Well, yes.
You have to pay a fee. And she's like, well, you're going to end up paying a couple of £100 on top.
There's a credit card fee, is there?
Very often.
There's a 1% fee. Because the car is, the balance at the moment is $5,100 to pay.
Well, very often there are credit card fees that come in that come with this. Jonathan, again, often advises that fee on the whole, is worth it for that extra protection. However, this is just advice. If you prefer that you don't want that extra protection, that's fine. That's why people spend on debit cards. That's why people spend with cash. However, the advice is that if you want that extra protection, then the credit card offers you that. And that's why Jonathan will often advise to spend with a credit card, because that offers you protection up to £30,000.
Right. Yeah, because the vehicle is coming.
Don't give us any names of any companies or anything.
No, I don't even know the name of the company.
Well, then that helps. Good.
Basically, he's coming from a trader.
Yeah.
So because it's coming from a trader, he comes with a 3-month warranty.
Right.
So that's another reason why my wife sort of automatically thinks it doesn't need... Because she said after the 3 months, you're not going to be covered for anything if you do pay on credit card, are you? I said, don't know.
Well,
that's why I rang you.
Ultimately, Andy...
how long am I covered for on a credit card if it's paid on credit card?
Okay, let's ask Ben. Ben, your turn.
Okay. The truthful answer is I don't know that, actually. I have a feeling it's around about 6 years, but again, that is a complete...
I think the major protection you would get from this is if something went wrong with the company, if the company went bust, or the payment went through but you didn't get the car, or something like that. And I think that's the initial, most obvious protection that you're going to get from a credit card.
The car, because I'm going down. We're going down to collect it.
Okay. Well, Andy, listen, we've given you the best advice we can. The decision is yours. It's that thing of, do you want to spend the extra couple of £100, or do you want to get the protection? And you hear so many stories of things going wrong, don't you? That it's quite often would be worth getting the extra protection. But it's up to you. You know, it's a lot of money. I don't have a credit card. I know, incredible, isn't it? Now, Peter came to us with his consumer problem.
I applied for 20 tickets for Paralympics in September last year. I received confirmation on the 8th of November that my application was successful and that I would receive the tickets in a very broad statement in summer 2012. So as time is knocking on, I'm getting very concerned.
How much had you spent on these tickets?
£766.
Peter says he's tried phoning the number on the website but can't get through. Peter's on the line now. Good morning, Peter.
Morning, Iain.
I've been listening to this story over the last couple of weeks, and I was surprised by the vague, summer 2012, you'll get your tickets then, and it's all a little bit vague. But Ben has been dealing with this story.
I have, yeah.
Do we know what the latest is? Who's going to give me the answer? Is Peter? Peter, do you know what's been happening, what the outcome is?
Well, the last we heard from Peter was that you'd received that email saying that tickets were coming to you, and we were going to wait and see, have those tickets arrived. So have they got with you, Peter?
Yes, Ben, Iain, the tickets arrived on Friday last week by Royal Mail and had to sign for them. So everything is hunky-dory. I'm a very happy bunny.
Fantastic.
And I thank you for your radio.
Peter, remind us, what are you going to watch?
Well, my granddaughter is a para-athlete in South Africa. And she and my daughter and her husband and granddaughter are coming over to watch 4 athletics events and the opening and closing.
Fantastic. The opening and closing, that'll be...
Yeah, well, I'll probably be going with them to those functions.
Well, I should hope so as well, if you're the one getting the tickets.
You would like to think so.
Yeah, but thank you very much for your help, and obviously it gave somebody a nudge and things worked very well.
Well, I was listening to this over the last couple of weeks, and I was amazed by the vague summer 2012. But it seemed like that they were concentrating on the Olympics tickets first, getting those out, and then kind of doing the para. When does the Paralympics start? Is it?
It's at the end of August.
It's the end of August, so there's still quite a while to go. And how many events did you say you were going to go to, Peter?
6 events, and the opening, closing, and 4 of the athletics track events.
It's going to be awesome. I mentioned yesterday I was going to try and get some tickets for me and my boy to go to the Paralympics, and I forgot. So this afternoon I'm going to go online and see if I can get...
Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, the system works very well.
You haven't got any spare ones knocking around, Peter?
No, I'm not putting them on the black market.
I'll give you a good price for them. Peter, I get to do this. Fantastic. There we go. It's a satisfied customer. Very, very little to do with me, but I am going to take some of that glory and some of that credit. Peter, do let us know how it goes on, and I hope you have a fantastic time. I'm sure you will.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Take care. There we go. So, well, this works.
It does.
It's good, isn't it?
And we get and Peter gets to go and see the Paralympics.
I'm well excited about that. I'm kind of I must try and get some tickets, because I tried to get tickets for the Olympics. And they were just so expensive. My boy's 2.5, and he is not going to sit still for more than half an hour, so I'm not going to spend 75 quid on a couple of pairs of tickets.
Absolutely, that's understandable. Maybe when he gets a bit old. Well, no, when he's older, the
it won't be
Olympics
here.
Will have gone.
It won't be here.
No.
Ben, listen, excellent work. Thank you very much for that. Let's go to Paul. Hello, Paul.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Paul. What can I do for you?
I was just wondering whether there's any update on the bus route fines that were charged by Hemel Council.
Now I'm aware of this story. This was. Let me see if I've got this right, because again I've been following this a little bit. This was the people were fined for driving in the bus lane, and then it was found out that there weren't enough signs or the camera wasn't positioned correctly, and everyone's going to get a refund.
Yeah.
Well, you're listening. You're listening to the Ben Nye Show on BBC Three Counties Radio. Let's go over to our host, Ben. Ben?
The thing with this is, I know a lot about it, because I almost got caught out by this myself. I was out reporting in Hemel, and I've done exactly the same as many other people. This bus lane came in new. I didn't know about it. I was about to drive up when some friendly person waved at me to say, no, don't do it. So I drove off and found out all about it. But yes, the bus lane fines, the last we heard was, if you'd been issued with a fine notice, a penalty charge notice, but hadn't paid it, then that would be wiped clear. You didn't have to worry about paying it and then being refunded again.
Okay.
There wasn't any need for that. However, there are people who have paid the money and are yet to receive...
It's about 10,000 people or something, isn't it?
It's around about that margin.
That's a lot of money.
Well, the council have said that they are getting in contact with people to let them know and to send them a refund. They also said that they should give it to charity.
I heard that. I heard David Prever talking about that the other week, that you should give the money that you receive back to charity. Why? Why are they saying that?
I think that was maybe just a helpful suggestion.
That's bonkers. No, I will take my money back and I will spend it on food for my family. Paul, have you been caught out by this then?
I actually got done twice in the same day. Once going into Hemel, and then once coming out.
Ouch.
The parking signs were actually on the left-hand side of the road, about 200 yards before the turn.
Yeah.
And when you're turning right, you don't actually look at the signs on the left. You normally have the signs on the right turn. But anyway, as I said, I got fined, I think it was £60.
Well,
one in, one out. And I've had no letters and no updates. I phoned them and I had a recorded message saying that we are sending letters out to everyone affected.
No, that's right. We were speaking to the council. We were speaking to the council last month about this. They were on our breakfast show talking about this. So we are aware of this issue. We're still coordinating with the council to see if we can get an answer for this. Last time we heard that we heard that the council were looking to get in contact with.
I think the thing with these kind of things is councils are always slow anyway when it comes to dealing with issues and sorting things out. And when they've got
10,000,
well, yeah, they do that quick enough. You're right. But when they've got 10,000 people or thereabouts to sort out and approach, I think it's going to take a long time. I think, Paul, keep at them, keep in touch with them, make sure they don't forget you, and it will happen, but it just might take some time.
Yeah.
Let us know if you hear anything.
We've only got till December, that's why I'm a little bit worried.
Okay, let us know how it goes if you can do that. There we go. Now, I think it's time that yes, if you want to give us a call, you can. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. I think if I put this down here, I should be able to speak to Nick Coffer. Hello, Nick. Are you there? Oh no, Nick's coming in here. I see what's happening. There's all this slight confusion because Nick's show is now starting at 12 o'clock, which is very, very exciting. And I get to do the handovers with him, and I'm never sure if he's going to do it from the other studio or from here. So it's all very exciting. I get the benefit of having Nick Coffer sitting in this. Come in, Nick. We're just talking about you. I wasn't sure where you were coming from.
I floated in.
You floated in, and it's lovely to see you wearing a very smart jersey.
Thank you very much indeed.
Now, hang on.
You're still for the summer.
I know. It's summer happened yesterday. That was it. It's gone.
It's gone. Iain Lee, I have seen you wearing both a velvet blazer, a cardigan, a shirt and a vest, even when it was 22 degrees last week.
It's a corduroy blazer, I'll have you know.
Yeah.
And it was cold when I got up in the morning.
Yeah.
And then it was really, really hot.
It's behind your chair.
Yeah, so I bought it and thought, I look really cool. No, I look like I'm nearly 40.
No, what you were clearly doing was you were putting sartorial elegance ahead of comfort because it just wasn't sensible.
Yeah. But I look good, didn't I?
Yeah.
Hey, what's coming up on your show today, Nick?
Lots. We've got a bonk buster for you.
I don't want to know what that is.
A bonk buster. It's a summer book. Full of lots of interesting stories. Victoria Fox, she was brought up in Buckinghamshire. Her book is called Temptation Island. She's here to talk to me about.
Is it raunchy?
It is in parts. It's more sort of Jackie Collins raunchy than 50 Shades of Grey raunchy.
Okay.
It's a beach read. Financial advice.
Yes, please.
After 1 o'clock, Rory Joseph is coming in. He is here to advise you on anything ranging from mortgages, savings, ISAs, loans, debt, insurance, banks, anything relating to your money, or
Ain't got none.
Yeah. You can get your calls in early. 08459 455 555. He's a very nice guy and he knows his stuff. So if you've got any financial concerns, wondering, especially in the current context, where to put your money, where to get your best savings rates, Rory will have advice for you. And we're talking about the benefits of herbal teas and tisanes, not with Rory, although we might give him.
What's a tisane?
Tisane is a posh word for herbal tea.
I like Rooibos.
Really?
Yeah.
What does it do for you?
Well, it's naturally caffeine-free and doesn't do anything apart from that. Makes me wee a lot. Is that a good...
It's probably a good reason to use it. The thing is with those herbal teas is that, there's a part of it which is, it's all a load of rubbish. But also, I know things like mint tea make me sort of feel, comfortable in my tummy. Chamomile tea makes me feel relaxed.
Comfortable in my tummy.
I was just trying to say it's good for, tummy cramps and stuff.
Nick, thank you very much for that. It's at midday. Anything else?
Lots, no doubt, but that'll be all for now.
I shall be having a little listen. Nice to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
much. That's Nick, who's on at 12. It's well worth a listen. I think you'll enjoy it. Now, back to the consumer updates. Thank you, Nick, for telling me how to run the studio. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Jim told us he'd organised to have his bathroom window replaced. It was going to cost £585, which included a £100 cost for a surveyor to visit.
About 2 weeks later, I received a phone call from the surveyor to arrange a visit. He has suggested Wednesday the 13th of June at 3 o'clock, to which I agreed. It didn't arrive. It didn't arrive at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. I wrote a letter to the company to cancel the arrangement. I then received a letter from the company saying they acknowledged my cancellation, which had passed to the office.
Am I sensing they won't give you your deposit back?
That's right.
Jim's on the line. Jim, so we have established that the money is coming back to you at some point.
Yes, Ian.
They're going to refund it. They sent a very nice email to Jonathan apologising and saying that they were going to send you the money.
Yeah.
Have you received the money yet?
Nothing at all.
Oh! Really?
The post has already been this morning. Nothing there.
And are they going to be sending you a cheque, or are they going to pay it straight into your bank account?
I've no idea. They haven't contacted me at all, Ian.
These things are usually... How did you pay the money initially?
I gave them a cheque.
You gave them a cheque, so they may give you a cheque back. Would it be possible, Jim, for you to check your bank account at some point today?
I checked them this morning.
Nothing.
And I checked them yesterday and the day before. Nothing.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I spoke to the company yesterday.
Right.
The person who I needed to deal with was not in, but I was told if I sent an email, they would reply to me yesterday. They didn't, so I'm going to send another email today.
Yes.
And I will give them a phone call on Wednesday when I've been told that the person will be in. But I'm going to send them a firm email today.
Right.
And then I will give them a phone call on Wednesday. And I'm really hoping that Wednesday I get a definite date for when your money's going to be paid into your account.
Super.
I'm sorry to keep dragging this out, and I want this to be a success. It's going to be a success. It's just finding out when. I'm confident that by Wednesday I will have a date for you.
That's great.
Jim, you're very patient. Thank you very much. And hopefully we'll speak to you on Wednesday and we'll be able to play that fanfare again. It's time for Eric Clapton. If you've got a consumer problem, you can give us a call. It will be good to hear from you. We'd like to know what it is. And hopefully we can help. But I'm going to be firm with that window company. I'm going to be very firm. You're listening to Iain Lee filling in for JVS. It's the Consumer Hour. Now, Stuart recently purchased a second-hand motorhome. He's discovered that there are issues with damp in the flooring of the vehicle.
This is a well-known problem. There's been cases of people putting their foot through the floors and steps falling off and all sorts of things.
How old was the motorhome when you bought it?
It's just 4 years old.
And how much did you pay for it?
Just north of 40,000.
Ouch. Now, the cost of repairing the problem will be £1,500, but Stuart doesn't have a contract with the manufacturer as he bought it privately second-hand. We'll be getting an update on that. But first now, it's time for the travel news.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, this is Ian Lee filling in for JVS on now it's the Consumer Hour. Let's go to a new consumer problem we've got with Richard. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, Ian. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you very much. I'm okay. Well, what's your story? Tell me your problems without mentioning any company names or brand names or anything like that.
Okay, yep. Basically, last March, my wife bought me a digital camera that was close on £100, and I went to use it recently, and the lens had stayed out of the body. It wouldn't actually go back in. It's a compact digital camera.
Yep.
Now, I went to speak to the retailer because it was out of the warranty by 2 or 3 months. And basically they said to me, because it was out of the warranty, I've got to go to the manufacturer about it. I'd emailed the manufacturer and said, well, no, the retailer imports directly from the manufacturer, and that's down to them to honour any agreement that's made. Basically, just being pushed around in circles over it. The main point is, obviously, the retailer eventually has said that they flatly refused to do anything about it, that I've got to pay for it because it is out of the 3-month warranty, which obviously I expected initially anyway, but as a gesture of goodwill, it was a case of what could they actually do for me.
So, hang on, you got this camera over a year ago, and you didn't use it in that year?
Well, it was actually, it was literally birthdays and holidays, so it wasn't used extensively.
So you had used it. You hadn't taken it out of the packaging.
It had been. Yeah, it was taken out of the packaging, but it was just used on very rare occasions. It wasn't used like every day.
Yep. And so let me get this right. The lens, the bit with these little digital cameras, when you turn it on, the lens kind of comes out, doesn't it?
That's correct. Yeah.
And it wouldn't come out anymore.
Well, it's out, but it won't go back in.
It won't go back in.
And it won't use, you can't take any photos with it or anything. The lens is out. Now, I've researched it on the internet, and basically what it's saying is, like, it's a motor that's gone wrong, if you like.
Right, okay.
Now,
these things are fiddly. And I had... Well, anyway, let's go to Ben. It sounds like a mixed thing, because he has used it, and it is out of the warranty.
Yes, well, warranty is one of those things. Jonathan often will say warranty is more or less... It doesn't matter. The big thing with this is, does the product last a reasonable amount of time for the price you've paid? So what we need to determine is what, a year and 3 months, that's how long you've owned this camera, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So a year and 3 months, is that a reasonable amount of usage from a digital camera that's worth just shy of £100? And that's what we need to determine.
Okay, I would say no.
Well, that's what we need to see. We need to look at because that's what if it, let's say it was escalated to a small claims court, that's what they'd look at.
Right. Okay.
That's what people look at when it comes to these sorts of things. So we need to have a look at the broad range of things, because there are digital cameras that do cost more than £100. So.
But £100 is a lot of money, though, Ben. I know there are you get cameras £200, £300, £500, but £100 is still a lot of money to pay for a camera. You would expect it to last more than a year, wouldn't you?
Well, I think this is what we can put to the retailer, because the manufacturer is right in the sense that you have a contract with the retailer. You should be dealing with the retailer. So we'll go to the retailer, find out what's going on here, and see if we can get a response. So you say you haven't used the camera too much, then?
No, it's literally birthdays and holidays.
And Richard, can I ask you a question? You haven't dropped it, have you?
No.
There's been no bumps or knocks or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
I mean, what they said to me was they'd have to take it back and determine whether it was, fair use or whatever, which isn't an issue, but it's a case that, well, you're going to have to pay for it, and it was just flatly refused. And like the gentleman said, at the end of the day, fair use, it's not a disposable camera that's being brought.
Richard, what are you doing without a camera? Have you got birthdays that are going unphotographed? Have you got holidays that are going... You're not going to remember them, are you? Have you got...
No. I've got Charles Sports Day coming up. I also do a fair bit for charity. of which I'm trying to do some stuff, and I haven't got one. You know, and using the camera on your phone is not the same.
It's not, no. Oh.
It isn't the same, and it is frustrating. And you know, it's. We just had someone call. Was that a call or a text? I'm not sure. Saying Steve, who called to say he bought a camera for £79 3 years ago, and it still works. It should work 90 quid. It should work over a year later.
Exactly.
Richard, listen, we will, and it's the retailer that we go to, Ben, not the manufacturer. That's our point of contact.
We'll speak to the retailer initially. It may be necessary to speak to the manufacturer to find out what's going on here to see if it's a manufacturer's fault. But we'll have to have a look. If we initially speak to the retailer, that's where we should start.
Richard, again, without mentioning any, I don't want to know any names or the brand or anything. Have you looked online to see if this is a common problem with this particular camera?
It's not a common problem that I've looked at. All I know is what I've looked up is the fact that it's a motor that's broken.
Richard, leave it with us. We will have a little look into that and see what we can find. Ben, you're very good at this.
Thank you very much.
I feel very, very good at this. This is Iain Lee. I'm a guest on Ben's show today. I'm filling in for JVS, and we're doing our best to sort out your consumer issues. We'll have more after this. Amen Corner. That was Amen Corner. If paradise is half as nice. Now, we just spoke to Richard, who was having a problem with his camera, and we're going to look into that. But we've got Charlie on the line. Good morning, Charlie.
Oh, good morning.
Charlie, you've got some advice or something. What can you contribute?
I just phoned the older lady friend. I've got 3...
She's no friend of mine.
I've got 3 digital cameras, actually, if he wants to borrow one until he's repaired.
You've got 3 cameras and you're prepared to lend a stranger a camera?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I've got a Fatica, Sony, and
all excellent cameras. Well, Charlie, listen, that's very, very kind of you. I feel like Keith Chegwin on Swap Shop now. That's very, very kind of you. I will hand you back to my excellent team, and they will sort out the logistics. And if Richard is up for that, then I'm sure that'll be a wonderful and a very generous thing to do. Do you often lend out your cameras to strangers, Charlie?
No, but he's been on your show, so he's good enough for me.
You've not heard some of the dodge pots we've had on here. Charlie, that's very, very kind and very generous. I'll hand you back, and Richard will, if you want to borrow a camera, there's a camera on offer for you. Aren't people nice? Every now and then, someone will do something that you go, actually, people aren't quite so bad. It's not such a bad world. You get nice people like Charlie who's going to lend someone who's never met a camera so he can take pictures of sports days and stuff like that. Well done. Now, Stuart recently purchased a second-hand motorhome. He's discovered that there are issues with damp in the flooring of the vehicle.
It's a well-known problem. There's been cases of people putting their foot through the floors and steps falling off and all sorts of things.
How old was the motorhome when you bought it?
It's just 4 years old.
And how much did you pay for it?
Just north of 40,000.
Well, you paid £40,000 second-hand?
Yes, I mean, new. This particular model, new. It's their flagship model. It would be around about £72,000 today.
I share Jonathan's incredulity there. It sounds like a lot of money. We've got Stuart on the line. Hi, Stuart.
Hi, Ian. How you doing?
I'm fine. £40,000 for a motorhome is incredible. Is it one of the top sort of luxury ones?
Well, as I said in the previous interview, it is their flagship model.
It sounds fantastic. It does sound like a great thing, but you're having problems with it. Ben has been dealing with this, I think. Ben, where are we with this?
Well, yeah, we've been coordinating with the manufacturer of this, of this specific motorhome.
And this will cost £1,500 to get this repaired?
That's correct, yeah. We've been coordinating them about this case. They said when they deal with all of these cases, they look at them on an individual basis. They look at each one individually, and there are certain things they take into account, such as a service history. Now, they've been looking at the records for this specific motorhome, and they didn't have any record of there being a service history. So, Stuart, can I firstly check, this has been serviced at regular intervals, has it?
It has been, yes, and I have the service history with the vehicle, and I explained all this to them in the letter that was sent to them. I sent them a very, very comprehensive letter, which you've seen, Ben, explaining that I had a full service history for the vehicle, which they've completely and utterly ignored.
Well, they have indicated that they just need some proof of that, so a photocopy of some kind. If you could photocopy maybe the service book, I think that would go a long way in terms of proving that you've got that service history.
Sure, I understand that context of their argument now, but you've seen the initial reply letter from them, And that reply letter was full and final. There was no, there wasn't any room for manoeuvre in that. And now I've received a letter from them yesterday, as you indicated I would. And this letter is just incredible. It basically says, further to our communication, that I would like to confirm that I have liaised with Ben from the BBC Three Counties consumer programme in relation to the issue that you are currently experiencing with the floor of your motorhome. To assist you further, please can you send copies of the service records? That is it.
Okay.
Now, you saw the original letter that came back. Did you see any room for movement in that letter?
Well, regardless of what the previous letter was, in terms of our involvement with the company now, they are saying that they'd like to see the service history. So let's put that to one side. What I think we need to do moving forward is get those copies of the service history over to them so they can have a look at that and kind of have that for their records, because obviously they need to see that. Moving forward, then we can get the repairs done. You indicated before that you were... have you got the repairs done already?
The repairs have already been finalised. We picked the vehicle up from the repairers on Friday. But as I communicated to you on the phone, I mean, we live in a very damp climate at the moment. Everybody knows that. This has got, a very serious issue with damp in the floor. The decision is made, you either leave it to get worse or you stop it in its tracks and repair it. Now, and I come back to this letter that I received from the Swift, which was absolutely final, saying that, sorry, we're not interested in the slightest.
Stuart, can I interrupt? I agree with Ben. I think we should kind of put that letter to one side. The last communication they've sent with you sounds a little bit more promising and a little bit more open, perhaps, in that they are asking for the service history. I'm assuming it's like a car, is it? You have a service history and it gets stamped by it and they date it and stuff like that. If you can get a photocopy or a scan of that...
I've got them, no problem. I'm going to ring this lady this afternoon and arrange to get them up to her on email. So that will be done by the end of the week.
Well, that's great. We can do that as soon as possible. That's a big positive step
Yes, I think moving forward, let's see what the response is on that and then move forward. I think regardless of anything else, let's just move forward with this and see where we get. So, Stuart, let us know when you've sent over those details and we'll see when they get them. We'll have a chat with them and see what their statement is.
Okay, well, I'll CC you in anyway, Ben. I've still got your email address. I'll put them over to you as well and you can see for yourself.
That's fine.
And then, if you look at those check sheets which have come from the actual service agent, and then back to my original letter, and you'll be able to see where I state in the original letter that the problem that's affecting this motorhome is not even on the check sheets. It's not an item to be checked.
Well, I think they're just checking, with any kind of car, when I own a vehicle, they want to see a full service history regardless. So I think it's just making sure that they're going through the proper procedures. And like they said, they deal with each case on a one-to-one basis. So in terms of this case, they're going to have a look at the service history and look at it on its individual merits. So until they come back to us having seen the service history, we've got to wait until that response. So
Stuart, phone them up today. Get the email address if you can. Send it to them today if you can, so we can get this moving as quickly as possible, and we will chase it up in a few days and see what their response is going to be.
Okay.
Stuart, thank you very much.
Take care, thank
you. Now, Stuart sounded frustrated there, and I kind of share his frustration with these things, because these things, especially when there's a lot of money involved like that, and 1,500 quid, it's not chicken feed, is it? These things can drag on, and when you can see that you are in the right. I'm not saying that Stuart necessarily is, we need to get the full story of this, but when you feel that you're in the right and it's just dragging on, and it's so frustrating, isn't it? Isn't it frustrating? But you have to keep on. This is the thing I've learned as I'm getting older and older, is you have to keep on and you have to keep fighting the fight, and we will find out maybe later in the week what is the latest on that. Now, Frank went on a 9-day cruise in April. He told Jonathan that when he and his wife arrived at the airport, their taxis didn't turn up, and that when they left the taxis again, the taxis again weren't booked. Not only this, but when they got on the boat, a man came into their room in the middle of the night.
I've since got a letter from them apologising and saying we'll give you £62 for all the inconveniences on board spend. And I wrote back and said, well, I don't intend to take another cruise, so, it's a bit out of order. So, I've got to spend it on there.
So if they were to give you the £62 in cash, would you be happy with that?
Yes, that's what I wrote. But that was weeks ago, and I haven't wrote back.
Now, this offer, of course, isn't of much use to you, Frank. You want the money, don't you?
Yes, indeed.
Can I just ask, because I did hear bits of this story, but I missed some of it. A man came into your room in the middle of the night?
Yeah, he was drunk, and he was 4 floors below me. And he came in at midnight, and I couldn't find the light switch. And when I found it, he was standing by my wife's bed. So I jumped out of bed, pulled a muscle in my back.
Oh, blimey.
Tried to push him out, and he insisted it was his cabin.
One of my most embarrassing moments in my life was being on holiday with my wife in Greece. And we were on a Greek island, and we were staying in a little complex of sort of apartments, and I burst into the apartment going, "You're all under arrest." I thought, this apartment looks a little bit different. I'd wandered into somebody else's room. Totally somebody else's room. And the man looked up and went, "Sorry, what have I done?" I went, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I dashed out. It was awful. But that's by the by. Ben.
I can't match that story.
No, I wouldn't want you to either. Where are we with this?
Well, yeah, we've been coordinating with the cruise liner in this case. I know, Frank, you've had some correspondence with them, so we went back to them and said, look, Frank has mentioned that it's unlikely he's going to be going on another cruise. And when they offered some onboard credit, Frank didn't feel that was... You know, it's not for him. He's not going to be going on another cruise. That isn't very helpful. So we said, look, is there anything you can do? Could you maybe make this out in cash instead, rather than your onboard credit?
Yeah.
They've confirmed that they will change the money to cash rather than onboard credit, and the cheque will be with Frank in 2 weeks.
Fantastic.
What they also said was they were looking at this booking. They said that that he booked it as a cruise-only itinerary, which means he needs to address the issue of transfers with the travel agent. They arranged the taxis from the airport to the boat and back independently of the cruise line. So they say they've informed you about that, Frank. Is that right?
They have, yeah.
Lovely. Okay, so, well, for starters, £62 cheque should be on its way to you, so that should be with you very soon. Are you happy, Frank?
With that I am, yeah, but the cruise lines refused... Not the cruise line, the agent has refused to answer 2 letters. They won't speak to me, and they owe me €38.
Okay, well, I think that's the next step then. We'll coordinate with the travel agent and find out what's happened with those transfers and see if we can get an answer on that. So there's still more work to do on this case, but I think for the minute, I think personally, I think the cruise liner deserved the horn.
The horn is going to go to the cruise liner. There we go. There is still a horn in the wings.
There is.
For the travel agents. And we will... Were you going to chase that, Ben? Will you be able to...
We'll be chasing that up,
pursue that.
Frank, are you sure you don't... Is this the last of your cruise lining activities? You won't be holidaying on a cruise line or any...
I might consider going straight from Southampton. It's the logistics that are the problem, you know. They expect me to get off of the boat and wait for 9 hours... at the airport, just sitting about.
See, I've never been on a cruise, so
the cruise doesn't appeal to me because of the thought of... Supposing you go on a cruise, Frank, and you're stuck with a load of people you don't like.
Oh, we've met some lovely people on there.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, we've even been down and stayed a weekend with some of them.
Aside from the person who came into your room at night, obviously.
Oh, him, yeah. Out to be a Frenchman.
Would be, wouldn't it? Frank, can I ask you to say something for me?
Certainly.
Can you say you're only supposed to blow the blooming doors off?
You're only supposed to blow the blooming doors off.
He sounds like Michael Caine, doesn't he? There's a hint of a Michael Caine in there. Anyone ever said that before to you, Frank?
No, I've been told I'm like an Australian.
We're going all around the world with you. Frank, listen, leave that with us. We've got you some of the money back, that's fantastic, and Ben is going to have a word with the travel agents and we'll see where we get with that. Is that okay?
Yeah, not a lot of people know that.
You cheeky little sausage you. Thank you very much for that. Now, next Sunday, the Olympic torch continues its journey across the 3 counties. It's an early start in Bedford as it makes its way onto Cotton End and then to Letchworth Garden City. From Stevenage, it goes on to Welling Garden City and Hatfield, and after St Albans, it travels through Hemel Hempstead and on to Luton. We'll also be bringing you the sights and sounds from the Luton International Carnival. And every step of the way, we'll be there. We are your Olympic station, BBC 3 Counties Radio. That's a nice song, isn't it? I wouldn't have a clue how to say her last name. Charlene Soraya? That sounds about right, doesn't it? It'll do. She won't know that I've got it completely wrong wherever you will go. This has been Iain Lee, filling in for Jonathan Vernon Smith. And I've got to say, big thank you to everybody who's been quite generous in talking to me. And I know what it's like when you listen to your show and you've got a favourite show and then that person goes away for a week, then it gets you get a little bit uncomfortable when you hear someone who's not your normal voice and you think, well, hang on a second, but you've all been very kind and you've been phoning in and talking to me, so that's something. That's good news, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and we'll continue to enjoy it as well, hopefully tomorrow. Time now to get a little bit of the travel. Oh, that was a sudden stop there. And on tomorrow's show, I'm going to be meeting... No, this sounds fascinating. We've all wanted to do this, haven't we? I'm going to be meeting Lisa from Hertfordshire, who, after 2.5 years of hell from a group of under-16s, she's managed to work with her neighbours to get a curfew imposed on her street. She'll be coming in tomorrow to talk about... We've all wanted to do that, haven't we? There's all little... As I get older, I get grumpier. I think that's a natural progression that we all make. And I look out of my window. I'm now the grumpy old man looking out of the window at the kids going past on their skateboards and making noises. I stopped some little thugs breaking into a garage on my street the other week. I drove past them late at night, and they were obviously up to shenanigans. I went in and watched them from the window, from behind the curtains. I was having a little peek. I thought, I don't want to get too involved. And they were doing something that was obviously naughty. So I turned on all the lights in my house and went out in the street, and so the light was flooding out into the street. Pretended I was on the telephone to the police by holding my phone up to my ear and made big sort of pointing gestures, and they saw me and they naffed off. Probably not the most sensible thing to do. I made sure that I could easily get back into my house before they approached me. But we'll be speaking to Lisa tomorrow and finding out her story and hearing your stories as well. Time for this, though. It's time now to get the latest news, and after that it'll be Nick Coffer taking you through the afternoon. This has been Iain Lee, thank you very much.